Hey, Vinny, are you there? Sorry, it's taken me a couple of seconds to understand actually how this works. So I have to create the space, name the space, invite people to the space. It's driving me nuts. Hey, Vinny, can you hear me? Vinny. All right, give me a second, guys. I'm trying to invite some people to speak. I'm not good at hosting anything. I see Joe. I see Vinny, Black Tie. What's up, man? Let's go. Dino Beaver, I follow you. I love your take. You're controversial. You crack me up, man. Let's do it. If anybody wants to jump in, just jump in anytime you want. Right now, what I would like to do is speak about, we've had quite a week on UFO Twitter, and there are a few people in here that I would actually like to invite to speak, and I'm
Jess,
going to do everything. Can you hear me, Vinny?
if you make me a co-host, I can kind of help you out a little bit when people
All
request
right,
to
gotcha.
speak. Um I can do that. Hey, just like next time you open a space, so go ahead and name it at the top first, hit on your record button before
Mm-hmm.
you hit start, and then everything will be set for you.
Okay, so I named this UFO Twitter just simply because there's so many topics. It's hard to zero in on anything, and I want to give us the freedom to go in any direction.
Okay.
And I'm gonna try to be more civil and
Yeah.
not to yell at anybody. So anybody who is, I don't see anybody here that I'm willing to yell at the moment, but there are a couple of people that I have invited specifically for this space that I'm waiting for him to jump on if he is
Well,
willing to
I'll
do
tell
so.
you, I have a little bit. I understand that um, there's people in our community who have a difficult time when we get passionate. Um, so I am sensitive to that, but I also don't like to be told not that I shouldn't be myself.
Right.
So on the fence with that one, you know. But yeah, we could try not to yell. That would be a good start.
All right, go ahead, Vinny. You can start it.
Well, I don't know what's the main.
Well, right now, my biggest issue is with King Milk Farts or Fettuccine Split or any of his other aliases who are allegedly good for the disclosure movement. He calls Lou Big Papa, or he says some, really fucked up shit about him, to be honest with you. But I would like for him to come in
Is
since
he a
he is challenging
fan or?
well, he's challenging everybody, and he is not a single person. He's a bunch of troll accounts all combined into one. And he acts as if he has the balls to take on anybody. So come on. I've
Oh
invited
well,
him.
here
Let's
he
let's
is.
fucking do it.
He's connecting, so there you go.
Go
Should I get a
ahead, King
bell,
Milk
or are you guys
Farts,
gonna
talk.
What's
be
going on? What's your
civil?
beef?
What's my beef is the fact that you have been trolling me for the past 3 fucking months. What's your problem? I even tried to squash some stuff in DMs and say, hey, let's be civil. Let's argue about the facts. But you're personal and you're weird and you got this fucking hang up on Elizondo. What the hell's your problem?
Pick one question for me, and I will address it.
Pick them all. Address them all consecutively. You know my beef. Fucking address it.
Well, let's moderate this properly.
All
I
right,
think
Benny, I will let you be the moderator because I'm not very good at that
yeah,
at the
but I mean,
moment.
I think that you guys can have a discussion about specific
I'll
things.
post the
I think
DMs. I mean,
one
I don't care.
thing Well, I think one thing that's a little bit disturbing, like how I think what disturbs her is your tweets about abortions and you're going to keep killing babies. Like, I guess she just,
I don't
if
care.
I'm understanding. So you don't mind being rude online?
Not even a little bit. Why? I did.
Okay, Justin,
If you
just
look, if you
block him
look at
and
the
move on,
context,
girl.
if you look at the context of that post, it was a reply to
Mhm.
a, I would argue, ruder person. But of course,
Oh,
she chose to not include the context.
Well, can I ask both of you a question, an honest question? Okay. I'm a mom with grandchildren, so I feel like I'm literally dealing with kindergarten shit right now. But why can't you guys just block each other and move on with life?
She has unblocked me today for the third time. I don't know what her problem is. She unblocked me.
I'll
Said,
tell you exactly why I unblocked him for the third time because he keeps continuing
I guess I'll just
to
stop
create
speaking when she
different
decides
accounts.
she's ready to speak. I'll just stop. I guess is that how this goes?
Yeah, you should probably fucking stop and let
Well,
me talk. You create several different accounts. When I block you,
Name
you
one.
create another batshit fucking crazy account and
Name one.
follow me
What was it
and
called?
stalk. All right. You want me to tell you another one today? You wrote a goddamn
Yeah.
poem about Luis Elizondo. It's
What's the
weird, dude.
account
What the
called?
fuck
Why
is
can't
wrong
you
with
answer
you?
that?
The fact that you're fucking weird?
What
Why can't I answer that? I
What
have
is the
answered that. Leave
account
me the fuck
called?
alone.
What's the account called?
All right, hang on. I'll tell you right now. You calling everybody
Do-do-do.
else out. You're
How?
calling everybody else out to follow you, and I'm telling you right now, everybody, hey, follow me in a fucking space. Let's take this out in the open, bro. I'm in the open. Oh, I'm in the open. Let's do this.
You're
Like, if you
taking
have
a
a problem
while.
with me, what's your problem?
You're taking a while to find that account.
well,
You know
can
why?
I
Because
ask
I don't
both
fucking
of
care
you?
about
Wait,
you.
but listen. Okay, look, you guys. I've been online since the '90s. I've seen more shit than I could do a whole 7-hour space about the shit I've seen online. People are going to say nasty stuff. They're going to act like assholes. Just from me to you as a friend, I would block them and move on. And every time someone told me, I would block them and move on. Like it'd be so quick, like a trigger. Why don't you do that? Just curious.
Because his new account that he trolled me today is called UFO Sectomy. Abducted once, twice shy is his
Not me.
handle. And,
So then why
bull
don't you block
fucking
it?
shit.
It's not me.
Bull fucking shit. It is totally you.
Okay.
Nobody else wants to swallow Luis Elizondo's cum except for you, okay? I can spot
Oh,
you a mile
you're
of
getting
fuck
spicy
away.
there, Mama. Calm down. Calm down. That
Okay,
ain't
you can
me.
call me mama, papa, whatever the fuck you want. Nobody is you. Nobody else is as crazy as you in this whole fucking UFO Twitter verse, okay?
Yeah,
So
no,
you need to
definitely
knock
no
it the
one.
fuck off, or you need to come at me, one or the other, because I'm
Definitely
But
no
fucking sick
one's
of
what
as
it.
does that
crazy as me.
mean? What does that mean? Like, I don't know. The language you guys are using. What does "come at me" mean? If
Good
I'm
somebody
question.
trolls
sorry if
me,
I seem controversial, but he
Good
keeps
question.
continuing to create accounts and troll me. If you want to troll me, stop fucking trolling me. If you want to have a conversation with me, I'll tell you exactly. I'll meet you any fucking day of the time of the fucking week you pick. I'm not afraid of you, dude. If
All
you
I
want to
can
keep
do
doing
is
it,
be
then let's
honest.
fucking do it.
All I can do is be honest with you. And that's not
That
me.
you're
And whether
batshit
you
fucking
choose to
crazy.
believe it or not, I have no control over. If there's a way that you
If
can suggest I prove it, I will gladly comply.
there are several of you,
Okay,
okay?
name another one.
That's not the that's probably one of the fifth fucking accounts. Fettuccine splits,
Not me.
UFO or whatever milk farts. They're all fucking you, and you keep
Oh,
calling everybody else to come at you.
if
I'm here, motherfucker. Let's go.
if
What's
it
your problem with me?
if
Exactly, because I do not agree with everything they fucking say. Is that that's really your problem with me?
okay, one question at a time.
What's your problem, motherfucker? That's the first question.
You have an agenda that is in bad faith.
I do not have an agenda. Many people, I have been here
I
for
guess I'll just
way
stop
many more
talking
years
when
than
it's your.
you.
I guess when you decide to talk, I'll just stop talking. That's how this goes.
You are prejudging me and you think I have an agenda, which I do not. I am balls deep into this from the woo to the nuts and bolts to every side. And you're prejudging me and you're calling me out and you're saying I'm this, that, and it's not true. And you need to fucking stop it or you need to address it with me personally.
Okay.
Don't fucking tweet it. Let's go.
Okay, sure. You ask loaded questions because you are pushing
What
the
are my
same.
loaded questions? Tell me one.
Well, unfortunately, I can't pull them up because you block me
Because
every
you're
other week.
fucking lying. And you're just trying to troll me.
Okay.
You need to either stop trolling me or address my questions.
Okay. You want me to pull up our DM?
Yeah, pull it up.
Okay.
Pull it up, homie. Let's do it. And I will address everything you pull up
Is
right
there a
now.
reason why, and I would like to let other people speak. I know you guys are trying to work this out, but is there a reason why some of you guys cannot have your own perspective without the attacks?
It
Like,
is. I've tried to
why is it
DM
so
him.
bothersome?
I've tried to work this out in via DMs and said, hey, let's agree to disagree. But
Uh-huh.
if you're continuously trolling me and you're continuously like posting memes about me and saying things that are untruthful about me, then I'm going to have a problem. Okay, I'm not going to sit back and let you bully me. You're not going to do it. If you want to do it, let's do it face to face. I'm not afraid of you, King Milk Farts, or
Then
whatever the
why?
hell handle you're
Won't
going
you let
out right
me?
now.
Then why won't you let me talk? Because I have a
Then
perfect
talk.
example. You are you
Because
gonna
you're
let?
sitting back and shutting the fuck up. Let's do it.
Then why do you keep talking?
Then fucking talk.
Okay, here we go. I have an example of your bullshittery right here. You said, I'm not talking about one-offs and I'm not asking loaded questions. Out of the main current sightings up for debate, you think all of them are UFOs. That is a loaded question.
How is that a loaded question? That is an honest, truthful account. Not everything
I'll
is
tell you
goddamn
exactly why. I
UFO.
will tell you exactly why that's a loaded question. Because immediately preceding that question, I said, of course there are UFO sightings that were later identified as being. There have been an unquantifiably massive amount of documented UFO sightings. Obviously, they're not all some sort of off-world tech. Why even load the question like that at all?
But how is that loaded?
Because you just
There's nothing loaded about it. Not everything is
because
UFOs.
you then asked me, out of the main current sightings up for debate, you think all of them are UFOs, when I
It's a
just
good
told you that's not
question.
what I thought.
Okay, so what do you think? Why do you continuously control me when I'm trying to give you my perspective? Not everything is UFOs. Some things are
Control
prosaic.
you?
If you see a balloon, it's a fucking balloon.
That's
If you
what I
see a
just
drone,
said,
it's a drone.
which is what I just said. And then you asked
But
me.
yet, that's not really what you guys are both upset about.
I mean,
Like,
that's
you
just
guys
one
are both.
example. I think she's a clown.
But I
I think
think
that she
what
asks
she
loaded
doesn't.
questions. She has an agenda to push. She brings up stupid things under
But
the
I
guise
think she
of.
There
doesn't.
was absolutely nothing about that loaded. It was, hey,
Time for
we
this.
have several different sightings. Some of them are not UFOs. They're not all UFOs. Which ones do you think are UFOs? Go ahead, milk farts. Which ones do you think are UFOs?
Do you want me to actually answer that question? What do I think is an
I do.
unidentified
That's why
flying
I
object?
asked you.
Sure,
Actually
the Tic
answer
Tac.
it.
Okay, sure, the Tic Tac incident with the 2004 the Nimitz. How about everything that happened in 2019 that has been very hastily explained away as quadcopter type drones, which were then found to be ship lights, and no evidence of quadcopters were found in any of the photographs or FLIR images whatsoever. Uh,
I
the
spent
maps from
24 fucking
AFB,
hours
the
talking to you on
Rendlesham
the
Forest incident,
2019 thing.
Roswell, 1947. Like, how long do you want me to keep going?
You want to bring up something from 1950, like 1947, really? I mean, like,
Can't
can you
Lisa
bring up
talk when you
something
want?
more recent?
Have you had a couple
I
tonight? Honestly, like,
No, I'm telling you because you keep sending me all kinds of fucking messages and I'm pissed. I'm
I
tired
send you
of it.
messages. When have I sent you a message other than in a
You
response
show
to
up
yours?
in every thread that I tweet.
You
It's
have
like
me
you have some
blocked.
sort
How
of
do I show
crazy
up in threads that I'm blocked?
because I addressed that in the beginning. You keep creating batshit fucking crazy
You
troll
named two
accounts
accounts,
who
both of which
I
neither
did.
are mine.
Okay, bullshit, dude. Nobody's going to write a poem about how much they love Luis
That
Elizondo and want to
did,
swallow his cum, except for you.
in fact, when that guy did, I had a DM with other people, and we were laughing about it, going, "Who is this guy?" So you can either believe it or not. I don't care. Your opinion honestly means nothing to me.
You're talking to yourself in one single thread, and it's fucking weird, okay?
I'm
And
not
you
though.
keep trolling me, and you need to fucking stop it. If you want to talk about 2019, we can do that. You want to talk about the TikTok, we can do
I'll
that.
talk
I
about
even
whatever
tried
you
to have
want.
it
I just want
civil.
you to have a
Okay,
coherent
I even
conversation
tried
and
to
stick
have.
to a topic.
All right, let's stick to the topic. Bring it up and let's stick to it.
Go
Bring it
ahead.
up.
Go ahead.
What's your topic? You want to talk about 2019? You and I went at it for like 12 fucking hours
You
over that.
invited me to a space to talk.
I did not invite you into a space to talk about 2019. You jumped on a thread with me and talked round and round in fucking circles when you could not bring up a single point
What
that
thread?
proved what you were saying,
What
that they
thread?
were UFOs instead of drones.
What
I
They're
have a
fucking
drones,
question.
thread
dude.
are you talking about?
Can I ask you a question?
Do I need to post it? Because I will.
Jessica,
Please.
Jessica, could I please ask a
Yes,
question?
please.
Okay. I nested some tweets that you made up in the, like, I just nested some tweets. I'm going to play devil's advocate and just try to be neutral here.
Sure.
Can you read those tweets, King, and tell me, do you think they're appropriate? Like, would
Let me
you
see.
want your daughter to
Sure.
see those?
Give me one
Okay.
sec. I don't have a daughter, thank
Okay.
He
Christ. Give me
doesn't
one
have
sec.
daughters because
It
he's
doesn't
aborted
matter.
every damn
Let's
person
see.
he's impregnated,
It doesn't
apparently.
matter. We're going to pretend
Okay,
that he
so
has a
so
child, and would you want that child or anybody 13 to read that?
okay, there's 4 tweets here. I will go through. I
Okay.
guess I'll just do them in order. First one, I said,
Okay.
FYI, you can make it a felony, and I'm going to keep fucking and keep aborting the babies, 7 and counting. Do something. Is that crass? 100%.
That's fucking sick, and it's
Am
demented,
I gonna
and
get
you're
to talk? Am I
trolling.
gonna get to talk, or are you just gonna flip out because you've had one too many tonight? Calm down.
Let him. Don't. Please, you guys. I'm going to leave this space. I just, you got to be able to have a conversation.
That's what I'm saying.
Just answer me for me. Would you want a 13-year-old little girl to see a tweet like that?
No, no, absolutely not.
That is who is on. Listen, let me talk, Jessica.
Okay, I'll let you talk.
Me and you talking human to human. That's who's on this app. Children. And when I tweet, look, I'm not perfect. Okay, I can't say every tweet I have is glory, glory, right? But I try not to be so crass that if my 13-year-old or 16-year-old granddaughter, and I do have grandkids, saw them, it would not be offensive to those children's eyes.
No one 13 is supposed to be on Twitter.
There are so many kids on this app.
They're not supposed to be.
There are so many teenagers and young children.
It's an 18-plus app, and porn is readily available and not censored by default.
I have even spoken in the past about how much shit that's posted.
You're worried about what I'm saying when you can go to spreadbuttholes.org Twitter account.
I don't go to spreadbuttholes.org.
No, anyone can, is what I'm saying. And you're worried about that. You're worried about a 13-year-old seeing a satirical
do you want the community in general to come to UFO Twitter and think that that's who we are?
I'll tag UFO Twitter in that.
But do you want them to come to our threads where UFOs and the paranormal are being discussed to try to gain some camaraderie, try to get to know people, and see tweets like that? That was not
in a thread of anyone related to UFO Twitter at all. That was some right-wing nutjob thread who was loving the fact that women's right to choose was being stripped away from them. So I fought crazy with crazy. Some people get it immediately. Some people struggle with it. I don't care. I'm sorry. If you don't get it, you don't get it. Not my problem. It's an 18-plus. It's an 18-plus app.
I do get it. Okay, I understand pro-choice versus pro-life. I think it's the difference between being able to have a conversation and just being crass. Nothing ever advances with that type of behavior. It just doesn't. It turns into this, an argue fest.
But that wasn't even directed at her. She had nothing to do with that threat.
I'm just saying the tone in general, right? And it does trickle into UFO Twitter. It's not advantageous for growth in our community in general, for humans in general to behave that way. There's no growth in it.
Okay,
Yeah,
in my opinion, I actually strongly disagree with that. I think that comedy plays an incredible role in not only human growth, but emotional growth on an individual level. So not only do I take umbrage with everything you just said right there, But
Well,
I believe that the Bill of Rights flies in the face of what you just said.
The Bill of Rights was, you know, when you guys bring up the Bill of Rights and the
What do you mean,
Second
you guys?
Amendment,
You guys?
that's not you
Who's
guys
you
that want
guys?
to be
ridiculous.
crass.
Who's you
You
guys?
guys that you guys that want to be crass and say things that do not contribute to forward movement in a conversation. You just want to go around the internet and troll and just say really like crass things. Why?
Do
yeah,
I
I would
What
do
does
agree.
it
threaten
what does it
anybody?
contribute to?
Do I threaten anybody ever?
What
Yeah,
does it contribute to?
actually, the fact
Well,
you do, you come at me constantly. That's why we're having this space. Is it my
Means
turn to talk now, Vinny?
all
Can no
Well,
means
I
fart
don't
shut the
know.
fuck up
You
for a
know,
all
it
means
second?
show
depends
me
on
one instance where I have threatened you. By all
it
means.
depends on it depends on how you want to do the space, Jess, because Kent's had his hand up, Lisa's had his hand up. I can tell you honestly, my brain is tired. I've had a long ass day. I've been doing a lot of work. I do not want to sit in here and listen to a bunch of people fucking argue. If y'all are going to have a conversation that's productive and contributes to some kind of growth, that's who I am. But if it's just going to be crassness and disgusting and everybody arguing about it, I don't want any part of it. I block these people and I move on. That's just me.
Vinny, you and I respect you so much, and I understand you and I have talked today about how long of a day that you've had, and if you don't want to sit in on this, you don't have to. But I can probably guarantee you, just from my exchanges with him in the past, that there is nothing going to be civil about it because he's not a civil person. And when
I
somebody's not
understand.
civil to me, it's hard for me to be civil back. If
I
somebody wants to have
understand.
a conversation with me, I will have a conversation with them.
I'd like to just share this with you, Jess, person to person. I've been on the internet literally since the 90s. When I came out with my book, Cult Child, I had a whole fucking cult attack me, okay? They made rooms about me. They made memes about me. They wrote articles about me. They accused me of the most disgusting and crass things. You know how much attention I gave them? None. And that's what I'm trying to tell you. You have to sometimes get to a place where the trolls don't matter, the topic does. I'm going to use my voice to talk about cults, to try to save children, to love the paranormal like I do, and no troll is going to sidewind me or take my attention. You are a brilliant, brilliant. I mean, you know this topic, girl, like you fucking do kick rocks, okay? I hate to see you waste that. Not that you're wasting it, I may be using the wrong words on this stupidity. Block all these people and stay engaged in the conversation with all of the brilliance. I've never heard anybody spit off facts like you spit off facts. It's impressive as hell to me. So that's what I have to offer to all of this and to the community. Fuck the trolls. Block them. Block, block, block. My block list is very long. That's all I'm gonna say.
Girlfriend, I agree with you 100%, and I have been trying for the
I
past
have no
many,
one on
many,
my
many
block
years.
list, by the way. I block
All
nobody.
right. So,
Well,
first
that's
of all,
great for
let me
you.
finish before he jumps in. I don't disagree with anybody personally. I try to stick to the mainstream topics, and I
Yeah.
try to only argue what's out in the public, what Congress is discussing. I don't get into any
Mm-hmm.
individual experience or accounts because everybody has experiences.
Right.
I have experiences. It's not my job to tell you that you're wrong. I've
Mm-hmm.
seen shit myself and nobody can tell me that I'm wrong. Okay, that's not my job here. But when somebody continues to go at me, and when I block them, and I've blocked, God, 6 or 7 accounts from this fucker right now, and he continues to go at me, there is no other way to solve this other than to try to talk to him. And I tried to talk to him in DM, and he continued to go at me. So this is my last ditch effort before
Yeah.
I take other measures. Okay. So I may lose my temper. I may discuss some things that are uncomfortable for some people. Some people may hear some curse words, but it's necessary at this point in time before I go to the next level. So I'm going to try to solve it here. We may curse at each other, we may yell at each other, but I'm trying to find common ground with this fucking idiot who keeps trolling me.
But see, okay, I'm going to call you on something because that's just me.
I
You're
shouldn't have
not going
called
to
him an
find
idiot.
common
I understand.
ground. You're not going to find common ground when you call someone a fucking idiot. You see what I'm saying? So, in order to find common ground, you have to come to some severance even with your language. And then I think too, I just hope you remember that sometimes trolls they love to be fed. The more you give them attention, the more they come at you. But if you really want, like, you guys have to hear each other and not be rude to one another. Watch how you refer to each other. We're not all fucking idiots. We are a group of smart people. I'm sure King is smart too, right?
Okay.
But behaviorally,
Then I will respond with saying, dear King, sweetheart, milk fart, darling, whatever you want me to call you that's not offensive to you, can you please tell me what it is exactly that I have done to cause you to troll me on a daily basis? And by not cursing and by giving you an uplift, I'm putting you on a pedestal at this moment. Can you tell me what it is that you have a problem with me?
Sure. Exactly what you just did, which was ask a loaded question. You asked me what my problem was that causes me to go out of my way to troll you on a daily basis. I have already stated for the record, and I hope this is being recorded. Those
Oh,
are
it's
not
being
my accounts.
recorded, darling. Go ahead.
Those are. Hey, I also would like to ask you how it is you find it suitable and just to. How many times have you called me fucker or a fucking idiot, and how many names have I called you, yet you feel confident saying that I am not the civil one here?
Only in this space. Only in this space have I ever called you a fucker and a fucking idiot. Okay, so go ahead. Continue.
Right, but I'm the uncivil one. Got it. My problem with you is that you do what you just did, as I just illustrated.
I'm so sorry that I've lost my temper because you're saying shit and trolling me every day. But go ahead. Continue.
can you
Hey,
guys
can
There's
we
agree
nothing
give
to
you
to
a
stop?
break
continue.
for a
There,
sec?
there, there is nothing to continue.
No,
I just answered your question. This is what else would you like me to say?
Vinny
Why?
and Jet, can I jump in for a
Before
I
second?
don't even
I've
understand
never
why you
trolled you
guys want
before.
to like try to settle this.
I don't either. I really honestly don't, Jess. I think you're wasting your time. I think that your time and your brilliance is better utilized in this community in the way you normally utilize it. Does that make
If you
sense?
block me, I will never antagonize you. You have my word, and I've never
Yeah,
done it either.
just
You will never antagonize me with King Milk Farts. And can you tell everybody how I tried to find common ground with you in a DM? How I
kick
tried to tell you,
rocks.
hey,
I
what's your
would just
problem?
move
We
on.
have
I
different
would move on
opinions.
too. Jess.
You can block me, and you'll never hear a word from me again. I do
I
not
have
make
blocked
accounts.
you.
I don't
Just
make
Then
move
I
accounts
on.
and try to contact you. I
and
don't.
you're lying. You're lying right now. You're
You
lying.
got
I
the
Okay.
do
bigger.
this
You
shit
got the
Then
on a
bigger.
daily basis. For
You
okay.
got
me,
the bigger.
Then
You
I'll
got
tell
the
you
bigger
what. Block those.
platform. Why are you wasting your time with somebody?
okay, I'll tell you exactly why I'm wasting my time. Because I don't deal with trolls. Okay. I don't usually engage with them. Some people are deranged. Some people are unhinged. Some people are mentally unstable. I try to accept that. I don't involve myself with any personal experiences. But when somebody continues and continues and continues to harass me, it kind of pisses me off sometimes. So if anybody in here does not understand why I'm a little bit upset with somebody who on a daily basis creates accounts and continues to harass me and who has said, "Hey, I'll call you on any space. Let's go out. Let's go meet right now." This is me meeting him in a space that he called. I am telling you, what is your problem? I will meet you halfway. Let's talk it out. It wasn't good enough in DMs, so maybe it's good enough via voice where everybody else in the UFO community here. Let's do it. Okay, you don't agree with me. I don't agree with you. Let's settle it. Let's solve it. Move on. Don't create memes about me. Don't go and talk shit about me to everybody else. I don't do that to you. I haven't talked shit about with you with anybody else. I haven't created memes with you with anybody else. But you're a little bit crazy and you're a little bit obsessed, and I have a little bit of problem with that. Okay? And I'm not going to sit back and relax when somebody who continues to push me. You push me up against the wall over and over and over again. Eventually, I'm going to get fed up. And that's where I'm at this moment. Okay, you've called me unhinged, you've called me deranged, and I have never been unhinged, deranged, said anything to anybody else in this entire UFO community for the 5, 6, 7 years that I've been here, except for you, because you're the only person who's pushing me to it. Stop pushing me to it, and I'll sit back and I'll shut the fuck up and continue doing what I have been doing for the past several years, which is examining the facts that come out and giving my opinions or not. Okay, so if you have a problem with that, then you need to tell me, or we can settle this in some other way. I'm not afraid of you. You need to cut it the fuck out.
I don't think that trolls ever think you're afraid of them. That's not what trolls do. They just probably have their own set of personal issues. I mean, I think partially there's a little bit of a split here. You've got people who've been on the internet for a really long time. I could not imagine if I had how many hours I would have spent engaging people who trolled me. I just got trolled the other day about my tattoos. You know what I do? I hide the replies and I block the person, and nobody ever knows. When you engage, that's when it becomes this issue. You can hide replies on your tweets, right? You
I
know how to
do.
do that?
And you know what, Vinny? You and I, we both get trolled on a daily basis, but the trolls usually tend to say some one off comments, two, three, four, and then they go away. But when you have somebody, it's past trolling at this point, it's harassment at this point. And this point, he's pushing me to it. Okay. And I can go back for months and show where he's pushed me to this very point that I'm talking
What
about.
I understand. So I understand partially that you need to vent this out because it's bothersome to you. Maybe I have a different, to me, like I truly don't feel an emotion. I feel zero emotion. I look at that person and say, that's some fucked up stuff to have on Twitter because there are teenagers here. And, it would be nice if even an 18-year-old could come to this app and see some civility. But that's not what Twitter is. It's full of really amazing ass people who we've connected. And it's full of really like weird people. So, yes, I've been harassed, but one thing I will tell you for sure, when you continue to block and ignore and you don't give them fire, they go away and find somebody else who will engage them.
Well, I hope that that's what happens, but I'm going to give him a chance to respond right now
Can we
because he
let
has his
Kent
hand up.
Can we let Kent speak? I mean, personally, myself, I love to hear other people's perspectives because I learn when I listen to them. So, can we let Kent and Lisa
Sure, let's
speak?
do that.
And then we'll get back to King. Go ahead, Kent.
Yeah, I just sent you a message too, Vinny, because one of the things I had to study in my job was conflict resolution. And, because when you're dealing with multiple cultures, et cetera. And just a suggestion, I love Jess. She's a lovely lady. I haven't met Milk Fart. I've seen him on some spaces. But for me, especially on such an important subject like this, I think it's beneficial for the skeptics and for the so-called believers. I'm a witness. I'd say I'm not a believer. I've seen something. But when we do conflict resolution, what we always tell people to do is the first thing you do is take the personality out of it. Concentrate on your subject matter, the structure of your debate, the structure of your argument, how you back up your different points. And then once you do that and take the personality out of it, it makes it a lot easier for both of you to be able to have a debate and a discussion. So I have a lot of respect for everybody, and Jess and I have some fun between each other. We both have different views on different things, but it's just a personal suggestion based on the stuff I've learned that if we just try and focus on how we debate the subject, how we cross-reference our points, and debate the actual factual data that we have, and try and get out of the personality, because it hurts everybody when you get trolled or if you get abused, then I think you can move forward in a more rational way.
I totally agree. Thank you. Yes, I love the skeptics, and I'm an experiencer as well in many different ways. I'm almost done with the book about it. And I love the skeptics and I love the believers because I learn from both sides and it helps me gather data. So that's how I see it as well. It would be very nice if people would stop being nasty online. I mean, I particularly don't care to see that stuff. I would like to see people be more respectful. Unfortunately, it's the internet and they're not. Um, Lisa, I don't know if you still wanted to speak. I know you had your hand up for a really long time.
Well, if I could just respond to what Jess was just saying,
Can
real quick.
Lisa, do you want to?
Yeah, I just in my experience, Jess, and I don't know what your name is, Mr. King, but I when you resort to name calling, nothing can come good of settling any kind of dispute or coming to some sort of we agree to disagree and walk away. That's all really that I wanted to kind of put out there to you to just think about that. I know right now things are hot and Jess, you've gone through a lot and you've been hit and dealt with a lot of name calling and trolling. I know that you can handle it and deal with it. But try to really, like my grandma always used to say, be the bigger of the two. And if anybody's going to do the name calling, let it be the other guy. You don't need to do that. I love you, Jess, and you're going to be okay.
I'll just jump in quickly because I'm sorry, Patrick's in there as well, but just a quick one to Milk Fart as well, mate. When you're debating someone, the minute that it gets beyond just discussing the subject and when it gets into personality, you lose the strength of your argument just as much as the person that you're discussing it with. And the thing that you've got to think about too, mate, is no matter how you're trying to portray a discussion or structure an argument, you got to realize that the person that you're talking to has a completely different field of experience. So they're not going to accept your discussion in the same way that you give it because they may not even see it the same way. Yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I would just like to add, you're preaching to the choir on that. In fact, the very last message in our entire DM chain was from me to her saying, I agree to disagree. She blocked me after that point. I have never chased her down. I have never made any alternate accounts to get communication through to her. Honestly, this is a giant waste of my time and super annoying. Jess, with all due respect, I feel you argue in bad faith. I would prefer to not engage with you. So you unblocking me was not only a shock to me, but kind of annoying. So if you want to reblock me, by all means, you will not get any direct communication from me. And if you choose to believe that some other accounts who are apparently antagonizing you, excuse me, are alternate accounts of mine, block them too. I feel bad for Fettuccine Split if you end up blocking him because you think I'm him, just because I think he seems like a pretty interesting and funny person. But that's your prerogative.
Okay, well, I guess it's my turn to speak now, and I can tell you that I did DM you first and try to find common ground. You did not do that. I've tried to find common ground on every discussion that you and I have had and said, hey, I've even tried to be funny and say, hey, okay, you know what? This may not be that, this may be this. We even talked about freaking Jeremiah Johnson in one of our exchanges. I have gone above and beyond to find common ground with you. I've blocked you, but I would not even have the space right now if I did not know for a matter of fact that you are continuing to create accounts just to fucking bother me, man. Nobody does that except for you. Nobody has done that in the many years I've been on UFO Twitter except for you. So you can deny it. I can prove it if you want me to. If you want me to go to that extent. But I'm trying to tell you right now, let's find common ground and knock it the fuck off. Okay? I don't like to argue with anybody. I disagree with a lot of people and amicably, you know? You can't seem to do that. And I don't know if it's because you're a little bit unhinged. I don't know what the hell it is. I respect that. I'm going to try to meet you halfway on that, but you need to meet me halfway on that also. From this point on, you need to stop it.
Okay, I need you to prove it to me. You just said if you need to go to that extent to prove it, you will do so.
I have to
I
prove that you're
dare
the
you.
only person trolling
dare
me?
you.
Dude, I just told you, you're the
I
only
dare you.
person trolling me.
Okay, prove it.
All right, I will prove it and I will send it to you in my DMs. But
No, no,
you
no.
know what?
Prove it and post it publicly.
When I do prove it, I
Post it
guarantee that
publicly.
it's going to be publicly and it's going to be, you know, there's going to be some consequences when I
I
do it.
cannot wait for that day. And secondly, you feel like you have to have me meet you halfway. I don't
I
want
don't.
to
I
meet
just
you.
want you to go the fuck away, but you
Yeah, go
won't.
away. Block.
You're like a parasite. You won't leave me the fuck alone.
You know how many people are on my block list? 0. You don't like me? Block me. I
Because
don't care.
you're a troll. That's why nobody's on your block list, because you fuck
Go
with
away.
everybody.
Go away.
Dude, I'm telling you to go the fuck away.
Do you want to be do you want to pop my block list cherry? I'll block you if you want.
Block me, honey. By
Okay.
all means, block me on every
No
fucking
problem.
one of your troll accounts. Block me, or I will
Only got
continue to call you out
2
every single
accounts.
time you do it.
I have 2 accounts. I have King Milk Fart and I have Milk Fart's horse. They're pretty easy to link together, considering
And
they're
you're
both
full
retarded.
of shit. And I'm telling you right now, you're lying. Okay, you have
Prove it.
numerous accounts.
Prove it like you just said you could.
Deal. I'll send it to you. I'll show
No,
you
don't
exactly.
send it to me. Post it publicly.
Nobody in the past 5 years I've been here has the same verbiage.
What's taking you so long to publicly post the evidence?
All right.
All right, we good? Can I leave? This is stupid.
Yeah. I think you guys should just stop trolling each other. It'd be nice if you weren't so gross online, but you said that you like me in that way. So, okay.
Did I?
That's on you.
Nobody wants to swallow Luis Elizondo's cum except for you.
The
That's a
tweets
little
in the
crass
mess
there.
kind of.
When did I say that?
Look at your own
Look
tweets.
at what's been posted.
When did I say I wanted to, quote, swallow Lou Elizondo's cum? And by the way, what if I do? Does that what is that a problem?
Exactly. That's you. Stop fucking goddamn trolling me.
No, I said.
No, I think you can swallow whoever's cum you want, King. Have a great night. This is so unproductive. This is not why I want to be a part of this community. I do not want to see these gross ass tweets. I just block them. Y'all go suck whatever you want to suck. Call whoever daddy you want to call daddy and have fun with it. I'm going to continue on in the UFO community the way that I have, learning and growing and meeting amazing people and amazing experiencers like me. That's my choice.
I'm sorry, Benny.
You seem chill as hell. You seem chill as hell, Benny. Honestly, I don't know you personally. You seem like a very respectable individual. And if we ever do interact, I assure you, it's not going to be.
Yeah, I'm so sorry, Vinny, that you had to sit in on this horrible back and forth that I have with him. But I can guarantee you that he has called me for the past several months. And there is nobody else in their right fucking mind that would say the same shit that he says. And I'm sick and tired of it. And I've been pushed against the wall tonight. And I don't like to be in this position.
But you know
so
what?
that was it. He kept calling me out saying, hey, let's do a space. Let's do this. Come meet me. I met him. Okay, that was it. That was the point of tonight. I met him. It's done. It's over. If he continues it, then it'll have to go to the next level.
I want you to know that I love you dearly. I'm so happy, Jess, that I've spent the long ass time I have getting to know you. You are extremely brilliant. And the more brilliant you are and the more you use your voice, that's when people kind of like to attack you, right?
I know, and I have a short temper, and I've been trying to dial it back, and you have helped me more than anybody, telling me, hey, Jess, you know what? Calm down, dial it back, don't let these people get under your skin. And I've done so wonderful for many, many years. Many years. I've never called anybody out. I've never called anybody
Yeah.
names. I don't attack anybody personally. But you know, when I don't know. I'm sorry, but when somebody pushes me the way that he's pushed me, it's hard for me to bite my tongue, and I'll try to do better going forward. But some things you don't do.
I understand. I find his tweets extremely vile. It's disturbing, but I also know that that's the internet world, and unfortunately that's social media. And I also want you to know that's what we're here for as a community. For times like this, when you're trolled and you get upset, to listen and be here for you. And it doesn't make you bad or, make the community bad. I think that's what we have to be here for. Go ahead, Kent.
Yeah, Vinny, and Jess. Oh, because I don't have enough to do around here, retired and stuff. I like coming on all these different spaces, and I've actually tried to set one up myself, and it'll probably be a disaster anyway because I had no idea how to, advertise it or anything. But just a quick one. I've been on some really, really unusual spaces recently where they talk about all sorts of stuff, and the vitriol is wow. It's just honestly, Jess, some of the stuff that these people say to you and the way they attack you if they don't agree with you. But what I do it because I want to go in there and see the worst of what there is and try and deal with the people that are the most disgusting and the most nasty towards you, because I think it builds up your repertoire. It builds up your own strength to be able to have a good debate with people and not lose sight of the point. So yeah, I've actually got a space set up in about 5 minutes, and I've not advertised it or anything, so I'm probably just gonna shut it down because I do want to come back and enjoy the debate you're having. But just one person to another, you don't know me from a bar of soap. Don't let it get to you personally, mate. I know if you're having your own personal issues or whatever, it affects the way you deal with other people. But the more you let people get to you, the less you can show your brilliance in being able to debate facts and evidence and all the data that you've got. Venny has a very high opinion of you, and she seems like a very intelligent person to me as well. People have I respect you, and I don't agree with you. But and I said to someone the other day, there was another girl, Erica Lukes. I saw her on one of the shows the other day, and I said the same thing to them. It's not about whether or not you agree; it's how well you structure your debate. That's the bit I enjoy is the debate. And I'm going to jump off in a few minutes just to see if there is anyone waiting. But I'm going to come back and just Jess, one person to another. Just don't let it get to you, mate. Just be happy in yourself, and it'll get better.
Thank you so much, Kent. I try. Vinny has been wonderful for me. She has told me not to let certain people get under my skin. I don't really want to be a huge voice in the arena. I've sort of been pulled into certain things and made to sort of express some of my concerns and opinions. I don't like to do it. I want to stay to myself. I'm a very private person, but if just like this guy who he's pushed me a little bit too far, and that's when I come out. But I appreciate everybody, experiencers, believers, skeptics. I appreciate every single person that is interested in the UFO phenomenon or any other strange phenomenon that we are experiencing. I would like answers, and I appreciate everybody's input. Scientists, skeptics, I mean, even if you see something, go ahead, tell it. I will never, ever come across you or never say anything against you. I like to hear it. It's just the people who push me a little bit too far saying crass things. I'm not going to sit down and let you do that to me. I'm just not. I'm not the type of person. It's not my blood. People may hate me for it, but that's just me.
Ah,
It doesn't
no, we
come out.
don't. We love you for it. Just a
Yeah.
quick one. I've got to go in a minute. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. I've got to quickly go. Just a quick one for people to think about, maybe to get off the tougher subject. I just saw a report this morning on crop circles in England, and there was a crop circle that started off in one shape, and then overnight it transformed into another shape, and they've got both of the shapes recorded, and it just
Wow.
happened in a yeah. So that is the first time I've been studying crop circles, God knows how many years.
Yeah.
I've never heard of a crop circle changing overnight in my life.
Same.
Never. Yeah.
Same. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm looking
I
that
put
up
it
for
up on
sure.
my tweets, Fanny. So if you want to have a look
Okay.
at it, yeah, cool.
And I'd also,
And I'm not going because I don't like anyone. I've got to go to check out this space I set up stupidly. Okay.
hey, Kent, we really adore you too. I'm so happy to have gotten to know you. And I'm so curious. Poor Patrick, he's had his hand up forever and has been so patient. I definitely want to hear him. I think we all too just want to, this popped in my mind. We all believe some things and don't believe other things. Me personally, sometimes I notice I tend to believe things I've experienced, right? Sometimes most of the time I hear people's stories and I'm fascinated and I like to try to stay in a place of acceptance. Like that's their experience. There's no right or wrong in it. Then I learn things from you, Jess, which is like factual shit, like about Corbell, that I'm just like, wow, this girl has done her research. So there's just it's always a learning curve. And I think we all can remember there's not like no absolutes in right or wrong, right? So yeah. Okay, Patrick, sorry.
Yeah, no worries. Good stuff from Kent. I was just going to say that I've had experiences with terminating people, writing people up, and having people who have conflicts with each other sit down across from my desk, and you try to find agreements, but there's kind of two things that you don't engage in. Sexual harassment of any kind, threats, those kinds of things. There's no mutual understanding, meaning that you set the expectations, you move on, and you go your own separate ways. And everyone's kind of on notice, right? Well, this isn't really kind of that HR form. No one's going to get any disciplinary action. But when you try to, when you tell everybody what the expectations are, and then you re-engage, you're only causing a potential gateway for that person to re-engage with threats, harassment, sexual harassment, and things of that nature. So you're better off just accepting his block, which I think was a smart thing on his part to do, just to move on, because you obviously had this open forum and everyone was kind of here to kind of hear you guys out. And also on top of that, I understand that you're trying to understand with all of his different accounts, troll accounts, but you can't engage with people who sexually harass or threaten you. You can't. And so I would just suggest screenshots, save those, archive those, continue to escalate to Twitter, whether it's him or it's not. But I really kind of appreciate where you're trying to go to really understand why. But with some people, you're not going to get the why. And it's usually in those three dangerous areas that you just don't want to find yourself, trying to re-engage with somebody, because it's going to antagonize them. Even if it's meant well, it's going to reinforce those behaviors for them to say, "Oh, I've got her. I'm in her mind. I'm going to continue to troll her now." And you just don't want to give them that form. So that's the only thing I really wanted to say. And I'll go ahead and go back on mute.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. And I have tried and I understand that not engaging. Um, and I guess the only thing I can do forward is to block and disengage here on, no matter what other account that he pops up in. I'm sure you guys are going to see several memes about me coming up in the next couple of spaces, just because that's what he does. Like he trolls people, and he's trying to do it. And I try to understand that he's doing it out of the goodness of his heart for UFO disclosure. But it's not good to ever attack anybody in the name of UFO disclosure. Okay, you're only hurting the movement. You're only hurting. I mean, his idols are Luis Elizondo, Christopher Mellon, the people who are at the front and forefront of this whole entire movement. He's not doing them any service with his behavior. So I've tried to communicate with him that in DMs, but it just doesn't seem to be getting to him. So I think it's some people you just can't, and you just have
Yeah.
to block and go on.
Sometimes I'll listen to somebody for like 20 minutes, but I really glean two things they said. And I would just encourage you to glean the fact that he owned a very vile tweet about abortion and literally said to you, I don't care. Take that for exactly what it is and move on, because that's what you're dealing with, right? Okay.
Exactly. When you see
Yeah.
a person
Yeah.
and you see their true colors, that's when you need to
Yes.
accept
Yeah.
that
It's
that's
kind
who
of
they
like
are.
if you get to pet a snake and then you're like, oh, this snake is so nice. And then it bites you. Only thing you're going to remember is that snake bit you, right? Lisa, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't want to keep harping on that guy because he obviously has some anger issues, and I don't know what's going on in his life, but what he tweeted to you, um, and those were disgusting, um, inappropriate. And it's interesting that that last one about the drinking of the cum, uh, he never denied it, and he started to say that's not uh, my post or my like another person. I'm trying to come up with the name. That's not my account. But then he changed and just went into that. You know, well, so what if I did? You know, he's wanting to egg on um, anger in other people. He's wanting to spark um, fights in chat rooms, and or at least in this one. Uh, I know you were already upset, Jess, but don't 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 take things like this personally. Um, I know I know what it's like to be angry about stuff and be passionate about what you do. Um, but you are so intelligent, and if anything, he's threatened by that. And if you can take anything away from that whole um, this whole night, take that away. Some people are just going to be threatened by you, and they're going to lash out, and um, they're going to troll you, and you just got to keep doing what you're doing, what you're focused on. I'm going to have to go because I'm not feeling well, but I just want to give my love to all the UFO community and thank you for letting me speak. And I really, really hope that you all have a great night.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Lisa, so much for joining in. And I really do appreciate it. I appreciate your words. I appreciate you contributing to tonight. It's one of those things where I really didn't want it to have to come to this. Like I try to find some common ground with the guy. I still, even to this day, if he could find some common ground with me, I'd be
No,
accepting of that. But
no.
sometimes, like there's something about him. He's one of those people that you and I, Vinny, spoke about on our last space, where some people
Yeah.
are just too far gone. They're deranged. Some people are just
I
unhinged.
seen one thing that I saw in a space last night that it bothered me. That I don't want the women of UFO to get a reputation that all we do is deal with drama. Now, with that said, the women of UFO are the ones who usually have to deal with the drama. We're the ones who get attacked. There's amazing men in this community. There's also men that are very threatened by smart, intelligent women who have facts, who know how to research. We probably do tend to deal with trolls more than guys have to, right? And so if I see a troll, I go, okay, I'm noting you and I'm noting all the people engaging with you, and like, you're not my jam. And I think that really is the best way to deal with it, is to separate that emotion. Um, oh, girl, I mean, literally, I could tell you so many stories, right? I mean, my phone number and my mailing address are online. I don't care. I get the craziest texts. I just block the number and go about my day. Like, it really doesn't affect my emotion. And maybe that is where, like, a lot of people can grow that do get affected by trolling, is to know that it's not about you, it's about them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we get it. We get a lot. Like we're equipped to deal with it
Mhm.
at this point. So
Yeah.
it rolls off my back. I have thick skin. Like you can come at me, you can come at my theories, you can come at my appearance.
Yeah.
People like make.
Keep it
I've had so
respectful.
many people. I've had so many people tell me that I look like a hybrid, I look like an alien, or I look like whatever.
That's
Like
a
it doesn't
compliment. You're
matter to me.
beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, these
I'm
people
like,
can like
thank
say
you.
what I want.
Hey.
Say what I want.
Can I just
I
say
I
though
don't
that
care.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say though, when you brought up, if we could find some common ground again, and I heard, then trying to interject there too, but there's really no point to
Right.
even open that door for re-engaging on some common ground. Not when it comes to harassing, sexual harassment, or threats. You don't engage, and I would just encourage you. You have the bigger platform. Not that means much, but I mean this. I can see where you're coming from. I've seen the pig face on those two, Twitter accounts. It makes me think the exact same thing. Hey, I'm not crazy. I would think that he's trolling me because why would you have two pigs in a profile picture? And I think you just have to understand, his profile is correct. If he's a pig, he's a pig. Just move on. Don't engage. There's no reason for you to find a common ground with a troll. There's none. So just let it go and just go on and doing what you're doing, and just move on.
When a person is an actual troll, and I will say that I have found common ground on a lot of people who have um, the opposite opinion as I do. For example, UFO Joe. Everybody here knows him. Okay, he and I have went at it for years. Okay, that's like been our whole dynamic, was opposing each other. But when we actually removed that and tried to find some common ground, we actually get along. We get along very, very well. He's a great guy. He's more open-minded than what I had originally thought, and vice versa. He thinks the same thing about me. So I would like to do that with everybody who I disagree with. But on the
But I
people who I disagree with, who are absolute nothing but trolls and only here to disrupt the community and to fight with you and call you names and not they don't really care about your opinion or what
I
you think. That's
no,
when you need to block and move on.
yeah, and I'll. It's funny with UF Joe. I just recently dropped following him recently because he had posted a tweet about somebody had lost their way, and I was like,
Don't
wait,
drop him, man. He's a great guy. I
no,
know
I
he
know,
says
no,
some.
well,
I know he says some things that are
well,
controversial. Okay,
yeah,
but once you really get to know him, he's a lot
I,
more. If you
I,
talk to him, he's
I know,
different.
I know. I had reached a certain. I mean, that's why I didn't block him. That's why I didn't, do any of that. I just said, I just need to take a break from UF Joe. But I agree. What I will agree with you is, I don't think he's a troll. I don't think what he sends out his tweets, he has that troll quality. So I agree with you finding common ground with somebody like that. I would disagree with the guy that we just talked with that there is no common ground. You don't need him in your community. I don't think any of us need
100%.
him in the community.
I agree with you, David, 100%. I mean, like, I agree with that. That's perfect. Thank you so much for saying that.
I just wanted to throw out a quick Twitter tip just for the app itself. I don't know if you guys are aware of the mute button, but sometimes if someone's posting a lot or they're having, like, who knows, it may be a day for something, and I don't want that in my feed, I just mute their account for a minute. I don't even have to unfollow them. I just mute them for a minute and I'm like, okay, I don't have to listen to that today. And
And
then I turn them back on. So that's a function we can use as well.
and Ven, I would agree with that. And I don't want to beat up UF Joe because I do like his work. It's just that he had populated with other retweets and other conversations with other folks that I
I see.
follow. And so I actually had muted him for a while because I love the guy, but sometimes he'll like his threads because he's so precise and
Yeah,
he's
they're like
so
38 tweets long.
yeah. And I'm like, man, you're blowing up my timeline. I gotta mute you,
Yeah.
bud.
I
But
know.
then
I
he,
think I said to him one day, dude, you should start a blog because he's a very good writer.
oh yeah,
He
His
absolutely.
threads are amazing.
actually does have a blog if you look at his website.
Yeah,
And
he
I
refers
will
back to
say,
it.
and I don't like to promote anybody, but I will say that one of his website, he transcribes a lot of interviews that would not be in writing otherwise if he had not put the legwork in. So
Yeah.
for researchers across the board, if you're researching UFOs in general, he has done a lot of the legwork. You can look up what Luis Elizondo, what Christopher Mellon, what any of the top heads have said, only because he has transcribed that and put that on his blog. So I have even used his website and his blog against him and said, "Oh
Hey,
yeah, well,
Patrick,
what about this, Joe?" And he's like,
I
"Wait a minute, where did
remember,
you get that from?"
yes,
I'm like,
one of
"You
the
write
first
it, you wrote
one
it."
of the one of the first spaces, Patrick, that I was in with Jess, her and Joe went at it for like 7 hours. What? No, was it seven? No, maybe more like four. But it was very fascinating. It was a debate, and it was a good debate, right? I love a good debate because I walk away learning something. Do you want to go to David and Lord Ludacris? I don't know which one of you guys was first. I'm sorry.
While you're
Let David
deciding,
go.
I would just say this real quick, that, I don't disagree with you. I just felt that one of the tweets that I just had to take a break from. And I think that's what we do is, it's okay to follow and unfollow. I just felt like, somebody who I think just like yourself, where you guys have had disagreements and you went like long periods of time, disagreeing with each other. What I don't like is when somebody has a different opinion that we would say something like somebody's lost their way, because to me that's almost, I'm not saying
Yeah.
it's cultish, but it's
Yes.
almost like, wait a minute. And she's a female, and I follow her and I think she does
Hmm.
great work, and to me it was just a little like, okay, I'm and I could tell that there was a little bit of like tension building, and
Mm.
I kind of sided with her a little bit, so I was like, anyway, I agree with what you're saying. I'll turn it back to the rest of
Yeah,
the
there's like
audience.
a condescending tone in it. We've
Yeah.
actually done some spaces about that type of cultish behavior where it seems like it's like not everyone. I think Tupacabra is someone who kind of supports a lot of people but doesn't involve himself in like the fanship, right? But sometimes in these fanship circles, if you don't agree, they either attack you really hard and say some really nasty stuff, or they say, oh, you're insane, you're off the rails, you're a dumb little girl, or you lost your way, and that's when it does become cultish for me too. Yeah, go ahead, David.
Oh, I just had a few thoughts on the King Milk Fart, which I don't see how you can say his name, mention
I
his
know,
name,
right?
and in any kind of serious conversation. So just, but
So hard.
in an act of solidarity, I was going to say that everybody has their different standpoints and viewpoints and biases and what have you as far as the subject is concerned. And even on my side of the tracks, where I've been through a lot of things, and I find other people like myself, and that's kind of my little camp. He's even come into some of my discussions just to be an asshole, and he really, I think he's like a barking dog, or like a rabid dog for Lou Elizondo's cause, which I guess, that could be a good thing. But unless Lou Elizondo thinks it or says it, he doesn't bark it. So he comes after everybody that he views as out of line from whatever narrative. And I guess that tenacity might come in handy sometimes, but ultimately I just don't see how he adds to much of anything, really. But I just wanted to say that he has, I have had that negativity directed at me as well. Not to the degree where you're making jokes that are that kind of disgusting. But I mean, if you're going to anonymously refer to yourself as King Milk Fart in a conversation that's this serious, in my opinion, I just don't understand why anybody would take someone like that seriously. Um, you know, and then as far as just maintaining peace amongst the community, I don't know if that's possible. That seems to kind of be the gist of the conversation, and I don't have too much to say on that. But you know, you just got a really complex subject with 100 different viewpoints on it, and to your point, I have found myself, you know, in just honestly and openly expressing, as best I understand it, what happened to me, like even amongst the believer community or the like I'm just getting it from all ends because, you know, I'll say something I've experienced that doesn't line up with what this person experienced, and they have 8,000 followers and a T-shirt to sell. So now
Yeah.
I have to shut up because my experience doesn't line up with theirs. So it's just like it's everybody. It's
Yeah.
everyone, and every camp is just kind of like drawing lines in the sand, and I don't really know where to go from there. But just I kind of understand what you guys are talking about, and just wanted to say the milk fart guy is worthless.
Yeah, and there's room enough in this community for all of us. So I don't know what that kind of clicking up behavior is about, but yeah, I don't care for it too much. Thank you. I appreciate you like telling us about it. I think that makes Jess feel less alone because boy, has she really been bombarded.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was trying to unmute that. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's uncalled for. We can all discuss this openly. It's a very serious conversation. I'm not going to try to say it's not because it's something that could take humanity to the next level. So it is serious, but I think that he is an individual that's trying to make it less serious. And he's actually, to the people that he's trying to promote, he's causing them more trouble than he's helping. He's not helping Elizondo. He's not helping the disclosure movement. He's not helping any of that by his rhetoric. He's not.
Go ahead, Emmett.
Hey, how's everybody doing?
Hey, good. Nice to see you.
Oh, it's good. Well, it's good to hear you. Uh,
Thank you.
yeah, I saw this, and I was like, I'm gonna pop in and see what everybody's kind of talking about because, Jess, I saw your tweets and stuff like that, and I just got to tell you, I deal with online trolls all of the time. From YouTube, there's some there's some crazy stuff on YouTube that people have said about either me or my brother, or we get tweets about how we look or how stupid we are. And I love it. I know it sounds weird. I've learned to embrace it. And I'll tell you why. There's just a few things. One is I look at it like theater. So, you know, I'm the audience member watching this person put on a show on stage. That's not going to affect me emotionally. Um, they're the basically everyone else is the ones watching them on stage, and they're gonna if they're gonna act stupid, everybody's gonna know that immediately, and it's not in any way going to discredit you or what you're doing or what your thoughts or what your research is showing. So I look at it that way. I just have I've had all kinds of different altercations. I've kind of grown to be able to deal with those things once I kind of realize, well, I'm in a situation where this person wants attention. They're the kid breakdancing or whatever in the front of the theater when you're trying to watch a movie, and they're like some 8-year-old. I look at it like that. The other thing I'll do, and this is just some strategies I just thought I would share with you guys. If you want to use them, you can. If you don't agree with them, that's obviously totally okay too. Is yes and is what I do, and I'll explain to it. Yes and means if let's say they say, to me, you're effing, stupid and you're fat and you're et cetera, et cetera. I just completely agree. And then I take it to the next level. I know that sounds weird, but sometimes when you're dealing with a bully, the best way is if you double down and agree with them, you take away their power. And then when you say, and as an example, heck yeah, I'm fat, man. I ate a lot of ice cream or whatever it is. Because I know I ate a lot of ice cream and I know I'm kind of chunky. And frankly, I already know this about myself. You know what I'm saying?
I love it. Yeah.
There's nothing somebody else can say to me that I already don't know about myself. And you, my friend, seem to be a very self-aware person. So hold on one second. I just need to take a really quick drink of water. Having a quick drink of water. Sorry about that. So if you have
You
enough
know,
self,
I think what Jess is dealing with, I hope you don't mind me
yeah.
talking about you, Jess, like you're not here. She's been in the UFO community, for quite some time. And the first space that I was in with her, was super impressed. I mean, she's done her homework,
Oh yeah.
especially about Corbell. So I learned so much and I was like, oh my God, like who is this chick? Right. I wanted to know her more. And we'd spoken briefly, but it seems like the more that she has stepped up, and I think this is what's been she's going through that transition we've already been
Right.
through, right? Where the
Right.
trolls begin to come and they say the ickiest things. And when you're not, when the more that happens to you, the more your skin does get thick. But I think
Well,
she's in that phase.
Well,
She's in
you know what, Vinny, you kind of hit on something that I haven't been able to focus on what's actually going on. I haven't been able to focus on the facts, the research,
right.
the what is actually happening to the world, not just the United States, because I've been having to deal with so many trolls. And it has me concerned. It has me worried. I don't know if
that's their
it's by
purpose.
design,
Yes.
but it has
It is.
distracted me.
Can I just? I wanted to say another thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, which is in. I'm sure you guys. I don't know if you've covered this or not. Again, like I'm late to the chat, but Jess and Venny, and frankly, all the other women that have come into ufology has only really been in the last few years. Before that, it was just Linda Moulton Howe for 80 years. I swear, she was the only female in this field.
Don't
So,
forget Leslie Keene.
and well, yeah, Leslie Keene. I think she was in the 90s. I think that Linda Moulton Howe started in the 70s. I don't know when.
Yeah.
But I mean, she has got to be a strong woman. And I'll tell you, whatever you want to say about her, and her cats and all that, it's fine,
Carrie
whatever.
Cassidy too, Emmett. I mean, a
Yes,
lot of
Carrie
people don't
Cassidy.
like her, but I've
Well, and
followed
that's what I'm
Carrie
going to say
since.
here is a lot of people don't, but these are women who've come into a white, middle-aged, male Christian theocracy in the way that they've built this sort of whatever's happening, whether they're lying or whether these events are real, which I tend to feel that they are. And you're going to deal with men who are going to be like, okay, little woman, go back,
Yeah.
those sorts of things. And a good example recently was, I won't say his name, but he's a pretty good podcaster from what I understand. He's blocked me at this point, which I love being blocked. It's one of my favorite things. I don't know, I'm weird. Which is, I saw him berating the Jamie and Bree, the two girls that one time I was abducted.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. They're good. They're adorable. I love those girls.
I love them. They're so
I think they're
unique and
adorable.
different. They bring in a really cool vibe to this.
Yes.
They're serious about what they do. But when you're berating them about, your podcast name is stupid, and you're degrading, what is everything that we've stood up for all these years because you have a dumb podcast name and all that sort of thing. And then they started posting videos of things that they said that were frankly just honest shit, stuff that normal people say. And that's what I love about Jamie and Bree is they don't put on a face when they do an interview. They really are 100% themselves. So anyway, I say that to say you're in, there's even not even that I know of a lot of gay people in this, field either. If they are, they're not, we don't know. And that's sometimes how it goes. But anyway, I'm going to wrap up just by saying, trolls, I always double down and yes, and I take it to the next level. And I think sometimes I will tell you there are people that have been sort of trolly that once I sort of kind of engage in that way, we actually kind of start following each other and kind of being friends a little bit on Twitter. So that's another way is, if you can't beat them, join them kind of thing. And that's what I had to say and share. So
Thanks,
yeah,
Emmett. I appreciate that.
Sure. Can I say something? Is that okay, real quick?
Of course. Yeah, go ahead.
No, not at all.
Yeah. No, you're good. Can you guys hear me
I'm messing
okay?
with you.
Can you hear me okay? Can you guys hear
Yes,
me
I def.
okay? Yeah, okay,
Yeah,
you can. All
yeah.
right, cool. Yeah, no, to go with what Emmett said, yeah, that's interesting. I might have, I do what I call my, I don't know that I troll now after listening to everything I've just heard. I thought asking crazy questions like, why can't this be explained and stuff like that was considered a troll in the community. But I guess I'm a little out of touch with that stuff. So it's a shame what's going on. It's if people spent half as much time, studying the stuff that they love instead of putting others down, put that time into research, go outside and go for a walk. It's
Exactly. I agree with that 100%. If half of the people talking shit spent half as much time putting their time into research, they would be able to have these conversations with us. So continue,
oh
man. I love that.
they would, and I was going to go on because I originally came in when you were talking about UFO Joe, which we clashed with. I clash with him all the time on Twitter, but I highly respect his work, his blog, and I really enjoy listening to his podcast. Like on there, he's super nice, and I think he just gets misperceived sometimes. Being on Twitter, he can be obtuse sometimes, if you want to call it that. So can I, or a prick, or whatever you want to call it. But um, so, but yeah, I think he's a good dude, and I don't think that he has any bad intentions. And I wish he was still in here so that he would know that I do highly respect his work and all that stuff. Just because I bust his balls on Twitter by asking him sometimes dumb questions, rhetorical questions that I know that he doesn't want to answer, that I'm not all that bad. So,
But I'll tell you, if you ask any rhetorical questions or anything that you want to ask him, ask me and I will make him respond. He does put a lot of time into research, and he is probably one of the OGs that we can call in this area. You want to look at Knapp, you want to look at everybody that's been here since the beginning. He's been here for many, many years,
oh
and
yeah,
he has researched, interviewed everybody that you can possibly imagine under the sun. He doesn't like to speak on everything, especially when he has opinions that may clash with the norm or the popular opinion. But I'm telling you, man, like he knows his shit,
yeah,
especially when it comes to historical research. So he's a good source. Like he
yeah.
and I go at it like daily. Like he and I went at it today about Nap. I mean, you can
Oh
argue with
yeah,
the
I
guy.
saw
He'll
that.
argue with you like for for days on end on a subject, but he will do that. He will talk with you and he will try to see what you're trying to say.
But he doesn't
Well,
get ugly, and I think that's what we all love about Joe is Joe never low blows you. He'll argue with you for hours, but he won't call you names and he won't be nasty like,
it's
what a
that's
lot of
true.
us have to deal with. And I appreciate that. I love a good debate, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
it is.
I wish that
And
we could have more debates on facts and about the history and what people have said and what's actually coming out, like what he engages in. I wish that we could do more of that. If I could just compel everybody who's listening right now, let's have those types of discussions. Let's actually argue the facts. Let's not take low blows at each other. Let's not dox each other. Let's
yeah,
not go against each other's families. Let's argue about what's in the mainstream. Let's pick it apart. Let's go at the end. And eventually, what's truth will come to light.
right. But for me, like, it's harder for me to go back and forth with Joe because he knows what he's talking about. So he knows if I'm BSing. I know, may know. I don't know as much as he does, but anyways. But like a true fanboy, you can give them the facts, and it can make you mad sometimes. Like, I'm giving you the facts. Here's articles, da da da. You know, but they still don't. They still don't believe you. So, I don't know. That's my opinion.
What were you
Yeah.
guys talking about exactly? Can I jump in there?
Oh, with the yeah, well, and it wasn't anything bad. It was a normal exchange. The last one I had with him was about the radio signals. That there were a billion light years away or whatever that they discovered, and they
Like the
pinpointed it to
wow
the
signals,
galaxy.
those
Yeah, yeah, the
those
one that was just
popular
in the
signals.
news. Yeah,
I
the
mean,
one that
there's
was just
signals
in the
like that that are
news.
coming out every week.
Well, this one was 3 seconds. It was the longest ever captured, and it was from billions of light years away. It was like last week or the week before. So I posed the question: they can pinpoint the galaxy and probably the star that it came from, but they can't find where any of these signals are coming from on Skinwalker Ranch. That makes absolutely no sense. And
Exactly.
in the portals situation, the amount of energy it takes to open a portal would send NORAD into a meltdown. I mean, there might be satellites crash to Earth if a portal opened up on the. I mean, it would disrupt everything. So
You
sorry,
hear
I'm not trying
Travis
to.
Taylor, sorry, you hear Travis Taylor talking about the 1.6 frequency that they have recorded several times over Skinwalker Ranch. I've seen a couple of people that have attributed that to other types of frequencies. That's common. The wow signal is a little bit different. We're talking about two different things here. You're talking about something that's coming from different galaxies, like
Right,
eons away.
I'm saying we have sensors and the capability to measure something from that far away and pinpoint it, but they can't figure out where signals are coming from on Skinwalker Ranch
Yeah,
on Earth.
it's curious, right? I agree with
Like
you. It
it's,
makes you wonder
you
why
know,
we can't
and
figure
Joe
out what's
said,
here on
I
our own
don't,
earth.
yeah, and Joe said, I don't deal in absurdity. That was his response. I'm like, are you kidding me? That's like a normal question. And I
I
was
think
arguing
that's
with somebody else. I
probably
think
because he's not
Logan
versed
was
enough
there.
to argue.
I believe Logan was there. So, and I might have been being a little bit of a smartass also here and there too. That does sometimes happen, which I do apologize for.
I think sometimes
Sometimes
too
that
we have to
happens.
remember that it's really hard to read affect in text. I mean, how many
It
times have
is.
you gotten a text that you're like, "What the hell are you talking?" Right, but they didn't really mean anything bad. So I try to remember that when I'm reading too. Was he trying to say that the signal was a ridiculous notion,
No,
like
that
basically
comparing the
the
two.
reverse?
I think I took it as like comparing the two, but I could have been wrong. But I don't think that that's a bad exchange. Like, you know, that's
No, not at
I don't
all.
consider that bad at all. Like, I just
Right.
want to know, why is that question considered absurd? Like, why is that dealing in absurdity
It
to
is
want to
not.
know? You know
It
what I
is the
mean?
exact question I have. Why can't y'all figure out? Apparently, some UFO is hovering over a ranch, where, by the way, Southwest has a flight path, but yet our defense system, our NASA, our star system can, yeah, ping a sound from billions of light years away. I have the same exact questions as you.
Well, how you
Maybe
look
it
at
works
the
completely different. I don't know. You know, I'm not that scientific, but to
Right?
me, it just
Yeah.
seems like, damn, if we can do that, if it was that big of a deal, then they would have been all over it. Like white on rice, they would have said, okay, we got a situation down here.
Yeah.
We're not going to bring the History Channel in. We're going to eminent domain it. We're going to use the National Security Act, and we
I
wouldn't
agree.
even know about it.
I
well,
agree.
that's
You
one of the reasons why NASA is involved. That's one of the reasons why the United States Space Force is involved. There are
In
a lot of things
Skinwalker
that they
Ranch.
are, and Skinwalker. Well, there are a lot of things that they are aware of that they are not contributing to the public. They're not going to go ahead and tell anybody who is participating in Skinwalker Ranch, Brandon Fugel, the producers, or anything who is involved in this reality show. They're not going to tell them, hey, we know X, Y, and Z, but it's part of national security, but we want to give it to you so you can promote it on your reality show. Okay, there may be a lot of things that we are picking up on sensors that the general public is not aware of. It may be something that's coming from outside of our solar system, maybe something within our solar system. There may be actual extraterrestrials buzzing around our skies. We're
Can I?
never going to know about it. In the way, especially with the legislation, and I think that that's something that we need to touch on next, in this verbiage, this new office that's been created, one of the God knows how many offices that have been created uh, within the DoD in the past couple of years. And I would like to get back to facts. Let's stop talking about everybody else and gossip and everything, and let's stick to the facts. Uh, the new legislation, does anybody have anything to say about the immunity verbiage? Anybody have anything to
I
say
know
Well,
about
can I?
what
maybe
Gallagher
Logan
said?
and them have
Can
their
I?
hands up.
Before,
Yep.
yeah,
Nada.
before we go into sort of the revisions on that, have any of you heard about and I didn't know this, and I it's this this meeting or this session's gone on for a while, so I kind of spaced it trying to look it up. But there's apparently a satellite either in Oregon or Washington that actually detects gravitational wave changes. So, like in hypothetical scenario, if a UFO was flying, even though they could distort the gravity around it could possibly be distorted. It could be picked up. So apparently, like this satellite hasn't detected anything for. I don't know when it's been in service, and I apologize. I don't have all the facts ready, so I feel like one of those people. But apparently, there is some satellite detection out there to and it's around the world, so it wouldn't be just for like the United States. It would detect any type of gravitational change.
So I'm sorry, you're detecting gravitational change within which anomaly, which artifact, which
Well,
diamond?
it would be anything that could distort. So, like, the Lazar example. So, where they, hone in and then, fly out and then, like, a second to fly from 60,000 feet all the way down to, well, that's not the drones, but
Yeah, 60,000 feet's not that high. Like I could fly a drone 60,000 feet. Like,
Are
is
yeah,
you
it
there
would be
something
one
talking
of
that's
about
those.
coming
the
outside of our
Northwest?
atmosphere that you're talking about?
Yeah,
I
like
think
one that would be zooming from, like, if you say you're in a forest, like Travis Walton, right, and then it all of a sudden just went wham out of sight and like flew out of our atmosphere. It would detect any type of gravitational pull or changes to because it wasn't really designed around tracking UFOs. It was more about tracking
Patrick.
atmospheric.
Do you have a name of this? Like, what are
It's
you
the
talking
Oh,
about?
I do. I believe that you're referring to the Northwest IR satellite.
yeah, I think so. Yeah.
It Jess, I'll send you a link. It's an infrared sensor. It detects electromagnetic radiation.
Please send me a link too. Okay, bye.
Yeah,
You know what,
absolutely.
you
So,
guys? I'll tweet this and then I'll nest it up at the top of the space and you guys can all check it out. This is what you're referring to, Patrick, I
do you
believe.
know who
I think
actually
so.
is responsible for sending that satellite up? Who is commissioned that satellite?
Does anyone know? Is Elon an alien?
I don't know.
I personally
Jess.
think that I would love for him to be Elon, for Elon to be an alien. Have you ever seen The Man Who Fell to Earth with
Which
freaking what's his name, David Bowie, who did the original one, and there's been a series after that.
no, I've
That
seen the
is
new one.
Elon Musk's entire biography, in my opinion.
Well, you know what I find
That's
interesting
hilarious.
about his girlfriend Grimes? I watched an interview with her and I just find her to be extremely bright. But she does not
Does she have the
identify
lizard blink?
she doesn't she doesn't identify as a homo sapien. She identifies as homeotechno. And I just found that extremely interesting. She was on Lex Friedman's podcast, and it's a really, really great podcast.
Yeah, Elon's got a lot of kids, and so does his
Yeah,
dad. His dad just
Yeah,
had
I
his
saw that.
second. Saw it was his stepdaughter, I think it was.
I
Yeah,
think
Yeah,
I
that's
love
weird.
where
We're
this
like,
conversation is going, and let's talk about facts and let's talk about technology and what's going on.
Well, can
So,
I
if
just
anybody has anything to contribute, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I saw Kurt just joined, and it looks like he just left, and that sucks because I was just going to ask him from TOE if he had heard about that, and dang it, yeah, he's gone. So
well, I
he
nested it for you, Patrick. I believe that link that I nested at the top is the satellite that you're talking about. Tell me if I'm wrong, please. Please
okay. I'll go check it out.
check that out. Okay. Yeah.
I was
You
gonna,
you
I
think
was
that's
gonna.
something that he can speak on, Patrick?
Well, I just know I mean, he does a lot of obviously informed interviews with folks, but I thought, and I don't want to say it came from him, but I thought I heard a podcast where he briefly touched on it with someone, and it just never got expounded on. And when he popped in, I thought, oh, maybe he had heard it because you posted it, and yeah, I'll have to look. I apologize.
No, that's okay. I don't think I posted it quite. I just posted it and nested it. So I don't think he saw it. Boy, I sure would love to hear what he had to say about it. It looks like it is presented through our weather system here. I live in the Pacific Northwest, and used to educate graduate and undergrad students. So that's very interesting. And thanks for bringing that up. Go ahead, David, and then Emmett.
Oh, sorry. Well, I kind of got mixed up for a minute because I thought the topic of conversation was going to be the immunity amnesty issue.
Yeah,
Then
talk about
it
it,
got
please.
changed. Well, I mean, it can change. It felt like it was headed towards tech, and I just didn't know which way it was going. But my hand was up next, so here I am on the spot. But as far as like I was it immunity or amnesty? Because amnesty is like forgiveness for past mistakes, where immunity is kind of like you can get out of any kind of deals you made to stay quiet. Is it? It was immunity and not amnesty, right?
I believe it is immunity. Jess is much more versed on that than me.
Well,
Oh,
I think Gary Nolan was the person who brought up the immunity versus amnesty. Amnesty, he says, is something that you ask for after the fact, after you have committed a crime, and
mm-hmm.
immunity is something that you ask for beforehand. So what we are getting now with the legislation and the verbiage that has been presented is pretty much neither. The DOD is asking for anybody who has any information on secret programs or UFO information to come forward to a certain office to offer up that information. You cannot speak to the media about it. So it's not going to do any of us here in this chat any good. Anybody who has any information can go to a certain office. They can offer up what they know, and that office has the absolute authority to ask them to be quiet about that afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
And they can do whatever they want. They can present it to Congress or they cannot. That's why I have always said that we need sort of like an auditor in between Congress and between the DOD to make sure that the information the DOD is receiving is presented to Congress in its entirety
Yeah, I mean,
and not
I'm sorry.
sort of edited.
Yeah, it feels like a kind of like just a new version of what was already in place, where you have information being shared and you have data being gathered, but it's like it's like a self-contained system. I'm hoping some of it leaks out to the public, but it just feels like a new system in place for government military intel to kind of report to each other what they know and keep it like in a closed loop. I hope that's not the case, but I know, or I think I understand that that's happened in the past. But my whole thing is, to my understanding, there has been a bit of like secrecy and confusion around this topic that was intentionally orchestrated by government military intel. So as long as they're not trying to weasel out of facing, owning up to that, then I don't care as long as the information comes out. But, a little caveat to my understanding, and I know that you hate to hear like I've talked to so and so, but I can't say who it is. But I have talked to some people, and you can believe me or not, and it's that gross statement of like, I don't really want to say who at the moment, but I think the bottom line is that nobody in government, military, or intel really fully 100% across the board understands what this is or how to deal with it. And they're probably going to sit on it until they do, which will be never. So I don't think we're ever going to get full disclosure from the government, but we might be able to get a little something out of them that can get a ball rolling in the public. I don't know. But I just don't want anybody to weasel out of any illegal activity.
Hey, Emmett, go ahead and then Chupacabra.
So just when I was scrolling through Twitter and I read this, I read the title of this chat as something about trolls. So I wanted to kind of apologize for kind of I was realizing that this conversation during my whole rant. But anyway, I wanted to ask. I think was it David? Were you the one that was explaining wave detectors in space? Was that you?
I
No,
absolutely
that
was not.
yeah,
Oh,
it
who?
was. It was me, Emmett, and I just actually found it, and it's not the one that Vin posted. So apparently, and I'll read this.
I was going to say,
It's,
where did you hear or know about this?
I'm struggling with that, how I remembered it, but I found it on the
Patrick, will
website.
you tweet it and I can nest it for us?
Yeah, I can do that. But
Thank
let me
you.
just read. Let me read
Because
what it says. It says
yeah,
on Tuesday, NASA is launching two new satellites collectively called Grace to replace two that have been retired after 16 years in orbit. GRACE stands for Gravity Recovery and Climate Experiment. The satellite measures with exquisite sensitivity changes in Earth's gravitational field. But somehow or another, so that's not the article I read, but that somehow had spawned on to somebody else's article that said that any type of gravitational distortion could be picked up and censored, because it's really for about atmospheric changes. But yeah, I'll send it to you, Vin. But that's it, Emmett. That's what I found.
okay, because I was thinking, and forgive me, I'm not a rocket surgeon, so I can't speak mathematically or in terms of physics. But the only gravity wave detector I know is, what is that? Is it LIGO? Is that they were the first to
No, LIGO isn't the
det-
only one. Grace actually measures gravity anomalies on Earth. So, like mountains, it has larger mass, so you can actually
so,
measure differences in like the gravitational pull. And they actually mapped it. I think if you look at an article, they actually show like the differences in gravity in different areas in the Earth. I mean, it's nothing unusual, but it
that's what I was getting at, is if there was a difference between the two,
yeah, no,
in terms of
LIGO is
how
totally
they're,
different.
what kind
LIGO
of
is looking
wave,
at
or what's
Yeah, LIGO's
like
looking at like
a
neutron
wave versus
stars, black
gravity in
holes
itself.
colliding and creating
Oh,
ripples in space
okay,
time. The
okay,
Grace satellites are just looking at like maybe differences in gravitational pull on different structures on Earth that might have
gotcha.
stronger mass. That's it, man.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense for me. Thank you for explaining that. That's all. I would just wanted to kind of get a little bit more on that, and I'll look forward to that tweet. And Vinny, you're posting it, right, or pinning it?
Yeah, I'm waiting for Patrick. Did you have a chance to tweet it out and then I can go grab it?
Yeah, I just replied to your tweet with
Uh,
my tweet.
okay. Ooh, let me try to stay in. Okay, on my page.
Yeah, I didn't know how to do it in here. I apologize.
Um, was it under the space or under the satellite one?
It was under your satellite one.
Got it. Got it. Thank you so much. Okay, guys,
But
it's
what it
been
doesn't
great.
include is, it doesn't include where I had heard as recently as the last couple of days, where somebody, I apologize, I jump in everyone's podcast, I jump on the news anytime this stuff kind of comes out around the UFO, like many of you, I'm sure. But so I can't remember the exact source, but I thought that was interesting. But that it could possibly do that, and maybe I'm wrong. Again, I'm not a physics guy, but it sounded like it could detect those distortions. But I mean, that was a new satellite that just went up.
Wow. And am I understanding you guys? Because I'm on a big learning curve right here. And maybe I don't know, Tupacabra, you feel free to take the mic if you can speak to this. Are these measuring the gravity or the what exactly does it measure?
It measures
Uh,
gravity. There's differences in gravity based on the weight of an object. I mean, that's basically what gravity
Okay.
is based
So
on.
he's
Thank
100%
you.
right.
Thank you, Black.
So
Yep.
mass in a
Yep.
mountain has more gravity than, per se, like a spot in the ocean. So it's just like a topological map they can
Yeah.
make. These spots have more
Okay.
or less, like he
Okay.
was saying right there.
Yeah. That's all. It's nothing.
And this isn't something we haven't already had, guys?
Yeah. No. This has been around. I'm not gonna say for a long
Okay.
time, but like that map, like if you want, I mean, I could post it. Like I think like JPL, Jet Propulsion Laboratory. I remember a couple of years
Yeah.
ago seeing like this map. I mean, God, that must have been back probably like 20 years ago.
Right, but they're saying that this is something new, so I'm trying to
Um,
no, it's
understand what the
replacing.
difference is.
Yeah, I mean, there could have been like an upgraded sensor. I can't even speak on that. I think
Oh,
that's what he was
Yeah,
okay.
talking
it's
about. Maybe something a little bit more sensitive. But
yeah, it's
yeah,
replacing. It's replacing the
Got you.
old satellite
yeah,
technology. And then
Thank you.
somebody
Okay.
shared. Yeah, it was either on the news or I can't remember. It was like it was definitely on YouTube that I saw it, but somebody had said that this would capture distortions.
Got you. Got you. Okay, thank you. Now it's clear in my mind. I just needed to really have a deep understanding of what had happened. Thank you so much. Hey,
And same here.
Chupacabra.
I was on the same
Yeah.
page with you, Vinny. Thank you guys. That totally makes so much more sense. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
yeah. I needed a little bit more explanation too. Thank you.
Cool.
Okay, Chupacabra, go ahead, and then after you, we'll go to Open Eye Project. Great name, by the way.
What's going on, guys? I
Hey.
just ate a hot dog out of the microwave and drank Kool-Aid out of a jug, and I want to debate somebody. I'm feeling spicy. So, like, I'm curious. I wasn't looking at the phone. Someone was in here saying that, like, a portal would take X amount of energy. Show me a portal in the data, and then I'll figure that out. We don't know. I think a lot of the stuff, like, we consider, like, even sketchy about, like, Skinwalker and stuff, I think we aren't seeing the data we want to see if our
Yeah.
own suspicions are correct. And so
All right.
we're like, you know what I mean? So, like, we got to consider that too, that if we knew what to look for, we'd have those answers. But, like, we might not know enough about this issue at all to even be able to get the right questions in place. Like,
Tupa, I don't
so
even jump in, but can we talk about data and just like the only thing I want to bring up, like I have no fucking clue like what good data is. Like, let me give you an example, right? Like just like we were just talking about gravity and gravity waves and all this stuff, right? They come out with this LIGO this detector, and they're just like, wow, we just saw ripples in space time. I have no fucking clue like what the data is. I have to trust like the peer review process, whatever it is that these scientists go through. So the same thing. Like if you're telling me there's a portal out there, what I have no clue. And like I think my only frustration, if there's any, is that like there's no like standard process that we go through with any of this shit. We watch a TV show. TV show tells you it's like, whoa, we see stuff.
well, that's the standard
Yeah, it's
process
like
is
1.6
watching
gigahertz. I
watching the
don't know.
show.
Like, dude, like I have no clue. I don't know whether that's good or not. Like I need somebody smarter than me to figure this out. You get what I'm saying? Like I don't need the data. I need somebody else that's smart enough to figure it out and say this is right or wrong. Otherwise, we're just gonna sit here and fight each other the whole time because we have no fucking clue.
Well,
I mean
I think that's an interesting outlook on it. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
But like
Yeah.
as far
I'm
as
not
like
smart enough. I don't
like
know. Like
I just watched Green Street's little video essay on
I watched it.
Skinwalker.
Yeah.
Okay, so like
Yeah.
well put
Dude,
together and
hot
all that
take,
stuff.
Right.
hot
And
take.
all that stuff.
That was actually good. Like, I'm
It
not like
was.
honestly, even though like sometimes he can go off in the deep end. You're right. Like, I mean, dude, like
It was
George
good.
Knapp said, he's like, well, we don't really have data, and even the stuff you're showing on TV, I'm not
Yeah, but like
discounting it.
hold the phone on this George Knapp situation, right? Because that shit bugs me because like I feel like where he'll take an opportunity to stop digging, he'll be like, "See, there's nothing here," and then he'll just dig somewhere else. And like
Right.
I think what's interesting to me too is like a lot of us are like swaying whatever the wind blows and shit. Like if someone produces another counter argument, half of us are going to walk away going, "Damn, you know what? He's
Yeah.
right." And then if Steven pops out a better one with better editing, better stars and shit, like
Right.
oh, you know what? Steven was right. I mean, we're all just if you're in the audience, that's how you're going to treat the situation. You know what I mean? So like, that's what's funny to see, like the shockwaves that come out of a Green Street hit piece, and then you see people kind of get in balls, be like, you know what? Yeah, what is George Knapp doing? And
But
it's
you
like
know
we'll
what it
never
all
know what he
reminds.
was doing.
You know what it
We'll just
reminds
never
me
know.
of?
Yeah.
I'll tell you what people like Green Street remind me of. They remind me of a mechanic, right? Or even a doctor who's going to rule out all the bullshit that's not wrong. They're ruling out everything that's kind of not real to try to sweep away. I tweeted about this today, like, don't kill the people who pull the weeds, because that's how we get to the garden.
No, I don't. I think he has a bias.
Can I jump in really quick?
Yeah, for sure.
And okay, so I'm trying to be quiet and let everybody talk. I love to hear everybody's opinion. I want to say, Chupacabra, I've been following you for a while now. I absolutely respect some of the things that you're doing as far as your timeline. I think that's something that has needed to be done for a while now. I will contribute in any way that you need me to. But I also think that in regards to George Knapp and some of these other people who have been here for eons at the moment know exactly what's going on. And they are part of, I don't want to say the cover up, but they know exactly what's going on. George Knapp.
What do you mean by
And
that?
I know. Okay,
But
I will
like,
tell you exactly what I mean by that. George Knapp knew about OSAP,
Yep.
okay, from the
I love
beginning.
George Knapp, by
And
the way.
he did not say anything about it until it come out publicly. Okay, so he actively, by knowing about about OSAP and covering up, he was silent about that and let everybody continue to guess. Okay, somebody like that, that's not truthful.
Well, how is that just not truthful? Sitting on
It's
information is
not
not the
true.
same
Okay,
as
so you
lying.
know about a UFO program and you're a UFO advocate. You can't be both. You
Yeah,
can't
but
sit on
okay,
something for
hold
10,
on. But
15 years.
as a journalist though, and someone who was given
As a
access on the inside,
journalist,
I
okay,
think
if I were a
I don't
journalist
know.
and I knew about it, I knew about OSAP when it started, 2007. I wouldn't wait until somebody else exposed it.
Yeah, but it
There's
Well,
wasn't
no
no,
like
he
way.
was given
he wasn't.
access
He was
as long as
talking
he
about.
kept quiet. It was like one of those
Yeah.
type things. And he, after a
So
certain date, he could.
he's not your advocate at that point. He's
Well,
not
I'll
on
just
your
say
side
this.
at that
I
point.
understand what you're
Yeah, he
saying,
is.
but I
Yeah,
don't take
he's there
offense
as
to
a
it.
historian,
Why not?
documenting
Why
everything
would
as
you
it
not?
happens.
Yeah,
Why would you
I
not take
totally.
offense to that?
Yeah, I understand your position, but I don't take offense to what Georgia, because I feel like he doesn't owe me anything. He doesn't owe me anything. Like I'm privileged to be in a world where he's a journalist and he's gotten me the information he's gotten me so far. I feel like I was led to the right conclusion based on some of his reporting. I think that like he's been open about changing
He's
his
not been.
mind from nuts and bolts to something else. But he didn't owe me personally. I'm saying personally, he didn't owe me the info that he knew about like ATIP or OSAP or any of these things. Like I didn't know about
All
it.
right. Then let's you and me discuss this from beginning to end. He knew about Bob Lazar from John Lear. Okay. If you really want to start at the beginning with George Knapp and his whole lineage, start at John Lear. Okay. John Lear had serious ties, okay, within the intelligence community. He come out with Bob Lazar, George Knapp did after that.
Oh
Brought,
yeah, they were like a brat pack of like
yeah,
the.
he brought Bob Lazar to the forefront of the community. He exposed him, and that was his reputation for exposing Area 51, and he was behind the whole disclosure, like the truth movement at that point in time. Okay, so you get mid 90s where George Knapp knew about NIDS and what Robert Bigelow's intentions were in the 90s. Robert Bigelow acquired the ranch and then discussed with people in the DOD in the mid 2000s and was able to create this sort of government financed project mid 2000s. George Knapp shut up. He was put on Robert Bigelow's payroll and he shut his mouth until after Luis Elizondo came out. It wasn't immediately when Luis Elizondo came out, it was several years afterwards when it was forced out, when OSAP was forced out into the public. Then did George Knapp come out and say, "Oh, yeah, I know about that." And then he tried to publish this book saying, "Hey, I don't understand why you guys are talking about ATIP when Luis Elizondo come out. It was all about OSAP that I had something to do with from the beginning." Then he wanted the recognition from it. Okay. It wasn't until Elizondo brought it publicly, then George Knapp started pushing against him and said, "Hey, I want something to do with that." Then he came out publicly and he disclosed everything that he knew about
Okay,
that. So why should we trust him now when
well,
we
I mean, this
know for a fact that he sat on this information and hid it? And not only did he hide it, but he knew the people that were working with OSAP who were employing counterintelligence agents
but Jess, you're
to
the way you speak of it is almost as if like people died or something. Like I think it
no
was just it's just
no,
research.
why would you say that I'm speaking about it like somebody died? I'm just
Well, I
telling
mean,
you the
like
facts.
if the information that he withheld would led to something as severe as a death or to something like this, I could understand if we were debating like a case like that.
You
But I
don't
think like
think honey, that the fact that we have technology that people that they're trying to claim, we have anti-gravity technology. We have technology that could change the whole world.
Yeah, like
We could
especially
send
even if
UFOs
you
from here to someplace else and
right,
then the
even if
world
I
like in
you
think
2 seconds
I
but even
think
if
to
I
you look at like
deliver
what
medication.
can,
That's something. That's a
well,
huge
those are
part of
huge
humanity.
claims. Those
can
are
I
huge
say something
claims.
real quick? Let me say something real quick because I think there's just a little missing piece here. I think you're mistaking Jess's passion. It doesn't mean she thinks someone died. I think the problem here is that it feels like a grift. It feels a little bit too much like psyops to us.
Okay,
It
so
feels
I
like
feel now I get what you're saying,
you
right?
see
Well,
what
there's the gaps
that's
here.
what it
So
is,
in
Sarah.
those gaps, and that's what I noticed about
Well,
Green
I never
Street's
got to
piece.
finish what I was saying before
Oh,
I let
sorry,
you
sorry.
continue, Tupaka. Okay, so the fact that he covered it up or he was silent because of Reed, he shut up because of him and because of his relationship with him. There is no, you cannot argue the fact that he covered it up and he remained silent because of that. Okay, so once it finally did come to light, all of a sudden now he's ready to publish these books. And the books that he is publishing has fantastical claims in it. And he has even called Luis Elizondo out on some of those claims. Okay, so there is an evident, if you take 2 seconds to look, there is a divide and there is some sort of animosity between George Knapp, Jeremy Corbell, Luis Elizondo, Chris Mellon, and everything that's going on from here. Okay, you can't deny that. Today was the first time in the past 5 years that I have seen anything regarding Jeremy Corbell and Luis Elizondo even communicating. It's weird. It's strange. None of the facts line up. There's something off, and everybody should be wary about everything that we are being fed. We should take everything into consideration. Go ahead.
And I
All right.
also can we like also just try to get to other people too. I don't want to I want to hear them too.
For sure, I'll try to be very concise.
Yeah,
Like, and I'm
go
just
ahead.
presenting this other side. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that in the gaps that people are that you're right. There are gaps here, and there are things like he was employed by Bigelow. Well, what does that mean? Employed for what? We know that books
Well,
came
you
out.
know what? I'm sorry, I don't mean to jump into you, but also Richard Doty was employed by Bigelow under Hal Puthoff along with Eric Davis, and they worked hand in hand. And we know Richard Doty's past, and people seem to forget that, and nobody is questioning it. Even Chris Mellon come out in an article saying what was Richard Doty's, what was his what was he supposed to be doing while he was employed under OSAP? Nobody
Richard
questions
Doty
that.
Richard Doty has talked about that himself. I've done an interview with Richard Doty. He's come out to the community, and just so you know, he's on Twitter right now and willing to come on
Okay,
his spaces and talk to the community and answer these questions.
I would love to
He
talk to
was
Doty.
paid to do disinformation.
I
That's what
would.
he was paid to do.
I
Okay,
would love to
so
talk to Richard Doty one-on-one personally. If you can
Yes.
send me his
right.
information, I will absolutely talk to him.
He
Okay,
just
cool,
joined
cool.
Twitter a couple days ago, and I've been talking to him to see if he would be willing to let the community ask him questions. I think all of these guys should be in these spaces talking to us, really.
All right. Well, I mean, okay. So if he's in the space talking to us, I mean, it still presents an issue. You know what I mean? Like if he's
Yeah,
an
for sure.
intelligent disinformation agent, but I guess the idea is that you're saying that a lot of these like gaps leave a lot of room to assume that there's some funny business going on, and you think the funny business is grifting, and that the grifting through
I know,
presenting
no,
a
no, no, no.
false narrative.
I never said the funny business was grifting. I think that's a part of it. I think a lot of people take advantage of it. I think it's like a vacuum. People can jump in. I
Right.
don't think that's the core of what's going on right now is grifting. I don't think that at all.
What do you think it is?
I personally think the core of what's going on right now between Elizondo and Mellon, I think the whole issue that they come out, especially the fact that they joined TTSA, I think their initiative and they're getting some sort of feedback because they want, if you look at Mellon's background and you look at Luisa Elizondo, and you look at who they're involved with and who they speak with, I think that their whole thing is to try to get the technology out. And I think that the UFO narrative is a means to an end. We may get technology out from the United States government that we have hidden and suppressed for many, many years, 70 years. But I also think that we'll possibly get some UFO information out. But the core of it is to get whatever these private companies have out into the mainstream so they can develop it and they can distribute it and they can make money off of it. Now, we may benefit off of that with some UFO stuff along the lines, along the roads, but I don't think I think the UFO narrative is a means to the ends, basically.
Okay, so
can we
Jess,
hear from Open?
I agree with you 100%. I just want a chance to respond real
Okay.
fast.
Okay.
Okay,
Sure.
I agree with you 100% on your assumption. I think like or what's going on, and that only makes sense. You know, if there were people who knew this stuff for a long time, they were studying the psychological, sociological,
Yeah.
economical effects of what was going on. So my question to you is, do you think what you're seeing with like George Knapp's, like whatever that whole thing is part of that rollout, or how do you see that? And if you do you agree with the slow rollout, or do you want everything all at once? Like, are you seeing this as a distraction or part of the main disclosure?
You know what? Honestly, I think it's so complicated that I don't think there is a single answer to it because I honestly think that there are other facets of the paranormal that are intertwined that we will never get answers to. I think that Hal Puthoff and his entire investigation into metaphysics from the 50s, 70s, whatever, going forward, you got remote viewing and everything that's intertwined. I think it has nothing to do with the nuts and bolts facet that we are dealing with right now. And that's why Luis Elizondo, Chris Mellon, everybody else wants to kind of squash that. But I think it's all mixed up. And I think everybody is so confused about everything that's going on. That's why there's such fighting within the UFO community because you have so many people on so many different ends that are
Mm-hmm.
saying, hey, what about this? What about that? And you can't tie it all into one thing. There's so many things going on. You can't attribute it to this same phenomenon. You cannot, in any circumstance, attribute every single case to the same phenomenon. And it's confusing to everybody. And I don't know how they're going to resolve that.
I wonder if we can get to the three speakers of Open Eyes.
I'm
Uh,
so sorry.
no,
I've
that's okay.
sort of
That's
ignored the
okay. We got to
speakers because
finish your like points. So like I get it. I'm just trying to help monitor a little bit, and then David, and then I
Yeah.
think Erickson.
Well, with the UFO community thing, what's going on now? They're finally really the government's finally disclosing it. That's good. That means they can't call us crazy no more. You got to understand, the government and people were calling us UFO people that was seeing these things or people that was abducted. Like I was abducted and I got alien implants in me. So I but the problem is they're talking about UFOs, but they're not talking about the alien abductees that what they're
so
doing
here's
to
my
us.
thing for you. How do you know that you have an alien implant? I am hardcore physical facts, and I'm sorry that
Okay,
you come in
I
on
have
my display place
I
to say that. Have you had it removed and have you had it
no,
analyzed?
I have ultrasound and X-rays. The ultrasound's really got a better photograph of it because the lady could feel it. Okay, she could touch it. She takes that little thing and she says, "Oh, there it is." Takes a picture. Take a picture. And she just took a whole bunch of pictures of it. And but the problem is, MUFON's covering it up. They're part of the FBI bullshit too. I don't trust them.
Have you reported it to MUFON?
Yeah, I went to MUFON and I told him, I said, look, Dr. Roger Lear's dead. I need a surgeon that could to take over his work because I got to get these things out of me. And they said, well, we don't
Where
have
is it
nobody
at?
that does that.
Where is it at in your body?
It's on the left side of my body,
Where?
on my foot, on my leg, all all the
What
parts
makes
of
you
my
think that it's
body.
an alien implant? And I'm not discrediting you at all. I'm going to tell you this because I went to the hospital. I had an accident, a car accident, and then the people come back to me and said, "Hey, you got 2 metal implants inside of you." It turns out to be like where I had my tubes tied years before. Is there anything that you can attribute it to?
No, I'm not. I never had an accident. I never been in the army. I don't. There's nothing. You know. You know. I never got shot by a BB gun. Nothing like that. I mean, but the thing is, I remember the aliens, and I remember seeing them. Okay, and I know they abducted me and stuff too as well.
But
And
how do you know that they abducted you? This is one of the things that I have issues with. Unless you can contribute your experience from beginning to end, you can prove that you have aliens abducting you. You can prove that you have implants. It's not going to help the mainstream stream disclosure movement that we're talking about at the moment. I know there are
yeah, but
so many different spaces that talk about individual experiences, and I don't discredit you, honey, at all. You may have been absolutely abducted. You may have some stuff that's going on, but the point that I'm trying to make and the what I'm trying to stick to is the mainstream disclosure. And once you can prove to me that what you're going through and what you're dealing with is can contribute to that, then let me know. You can DM me, you can talk to me. We can do this on a individual space anytime you want to.
yeah, well, let me keep on going. Okay, but another thing is the reason why the government is not telling you much about the alien spaceships or the technology is because the technology that the government has, they cannot sell it to the public because of the the problem with Russia and China and stuff. Because if they get this technology, they would win the war. Like we might be 50 years ahead of them.
But how do
And
you know what technology you have implanted in your body is going to help? This is one of the things I'm saying. Like, unless you can help contribute to the fact that all society and humans in the globe, I don't want
I
to hear
think
about it right now.
okay, okay,
I
let me
think I understand what she's
all right,
saying
let me
is
try to
that
explain to you about the alien implants. It's like witchcraft, okay? These
well, hold
aliens are
on just
very
a second. Hold on. Let me just explain. I think what she's trying to say to you is we hear your story. We love experiencers. I'm also an experiencer. What she's trying to tell you is this space is specifically to talk about what's in the mainstream as far as disclosure. So I just wanted to explain what I think that Jess is trying to say to you.
You are absolutely free to DM me, and we will go round and round on this as much as you possibly want. But right now, we're not talking about individual experiences. We're talking about mainstream disclosure at the moment. So you can DM me. I will call you. We can talk about this all day long. I am so open to what you've gone through, but just DM me. Who's next?
well, the thing is I'm a
David is next,
scientist.
and then after David, it would be after. Let's see. Okay, so David's next, and then I believe it was Erickson report would be next.
Okay. I the topics jumped around a lot, so I can't really address what was just discussed. But I agree that I think there's a lot of experiencers in this community, and I would say a percentage of them legitimately went through something, and it's serious and it's worth listening to. But I think somebody made a point earlier that said, people keep trying to pin one answer on this phenomenon, and it just had a phenomena, and it makes everybody confused. So I was just going to bring that point back up and kind of get some clarity on that, on what exactly he meant by that. And I don't know her name. It's Who is Axelrod, but she brought that up. So I was just wondering
Jess.
what things are being said that you or that you think are being used kind of in the public facing narrative to explain this or to describe this to anybody, or are you just wanting hard cold proof on the table, or just shut this whole thing down?
Publicly, I have gone through every single claim. I've read every single book. I have researched every single person from the beginning to the end who is at the forefront of this disclosure movement. I am 100% behind, and I have been from the beginning, to getting this information out. What I'm not behind is people who are standing up and willingly feeding data to the public via mainstream media or any other thing else that's not truthful. I will stand up and say, hey, look, I've been watching this for a long time, and what you're saying is not true. I don't like that. And a
Okay.
person that I can tell you who's doing that
Yeah.
100% for the fact is Jeremy Corbell.
Okay.
You know, I love his documentaries. I love Bob Lazar. You know, I have Bob Lazar t-shirts. I have all of his books. Like, he's like a cult classic. Like, I'm hardcore. Like, he's at this point, he's like Mick Jagger for UFOs to me.
Right.
But I'm not comfortable with Jeremy Corbell continuing feeding certain things to the media. Like 100 drones have been seen, when that's not a fact. And he knows that's not a fact. None of the data presents that that's a fact, and he cannot back it up. And I ask him questions, and he cannot back it up. And he says, oh, it's an estimate, but he can't back up his estimate. So
Well,
that
Well,
is
and even
misleading.
his battles, like the battles he's saying that's happening every night between our military and UFOs. Like, come on.
Yeah, that's misleading. He said that UFOs have been shot down, or they're being shot at within the military every single day, and his sources tell him that, but he cannot back it up at all. To me, that's like a threat narrative where he is building up this whole, everybody's behind him saying that, hey, you know, UFOs are bad. UFOs are this. We're shooting at them on a daily basis. Well, he has nothing to prove that at all.
well,
I
well,
disagree with that.
right. I understand that, and I understand also that, you know, there has been no other proof other than his word and that green triangle video behind any of that. But do you think it's perhaps maybe a necessary evil, whether you agree with the methodology? I'm hoping it's true. I'm hoping he's not just blatantly lying. Maybe he was fed wrong information.
And
You know, I'm
here's the
hoping.
issue I have with
Yeah,
that. You look at the Navy, and
yeah.
you look at their history for the past 150 years,
Uh huh.
we screw up a lot. The United States Navy,
Right.
we have deaths constantly. Our guys are constantly screwing up, fucking up, like crashing planes, helicopters, blowing up ships. It
Mm-hmm.
happens, okay? So the fact that these guys are coming out and say, "Oh, nobody's going to fly a couple of drones over a Navy ship
Mm-hmm.
because of the repercussions that it could mean. We're putting people's lives in jeopardy." No, that's not true. We screw up on much more deeper levels than that constantly. Okay, so we have this new system in place. We're going to try out these systems. The Army, the Marines, the Navy, the Air Force, everybody's going to try out these different systems against each other, and we're going to see what we can
Can I?
combat against. It's called I can't name it off the top of my, it's joint airspace, joint all domain something or another. Okay, I can send it to you.
Yeah.
But in 2019, if you go back and you look at the history, we were testing these systems, especially drones.
Uh huh.
Okay, so the fact that a bunch of drones swarmed our ships, and a bunch of these Navy guys took a couple of videos of some of these drones,
Yeah.
and it was leaked to Corbell, and Corbell put it out for the media and for all of the world to see as
Mm-hmm.
UFOs. It's disingenuous.
Right.
It's so disingenuous, especially the fact that it's been proven wrong over and over.
Can we ask?
After FOIA requests that saying that, hey, these were quadcopters. Hey, there were several other explanations for
Yeah.
this, and he's claiming it as UFOs. It's disingenuous. Let's
Can
move
we?
on. Let's look for actual UFOs.
Yeah, no, I agree. David, you sound like a reasonable guy. What
I
has
can.
Corbell presented? No, you do, and you know, I loved Corbell early on, and then you know, a couple of people, you know, snapped me out of it. But you know, what do you think Corbell has brought forward as like pure evidence, non-refutable? Like this is certain. What has he brought to the table?
I would love
Um.
for somebody to answer that.
Well, I mean, as far as just like if you're speaking scientifically, like I had a hypothesis and here is the conclusion. That has not happened at all. Like I'm not arguing with you on that at all. You know,
anybody.
Yeah, and I've had experiences myself. I've been, and I don't have proof of it. You know, I'm not going to sit here and go through my whole story. I don't have proof of it either. So I get that. And when you're talking about the world at large, you have to have some kind of proof for that. But that was going to kind of be my second point is, do you think that the purpose behind this entire movement is to bring UFOs, like truly UFOs, like that's not from here, bring that subject to the forefront? Or do you think this is some kind of psyop to keep funding for a new drone secret? Because if it's the former, if it's to get UFOs out, whether he's making an ass of himself, whether he can back those claims up or not, I am in real time having people come up to me who used to mock me that are now bringing this subject up and be like, yeah, man, one time I saw, you know, and so I'm just saying the broader conversation is opening, and maybe it's opening on a table that's set with some crappy data, but it's opening. Or would we rather just have the solid data and have this all rolled out properly?
Can I address this first before anybody else jumps in? Simply because Jeremy Corbell, and he produced a documentary or a video on a guy who he said was on his deathbed, a CIA deathbed confession, and the guy turned out to be a grocery store worker who had dementia. Okay, so Jeremy Corbell has never come out and corrected the record on that. We know everything that he said about Bob Lazar, and I love Bob Lazar, and I love his whole story, but he's never corrected the record on a lot of discrepancies in that. He's never corrected the record on the 2019 drone events when he's been proven wrong over and over again, especially with the estimate. Jeremy Corbell said there was 100+ drones swarming these ships, and there is absolutely no data. And I would challenge anybody in this space to find data where it's saying 100+ drones at one time simultaneously, in Jeremy Corbell's words, swarmed any ship. That's my issue with him. So somebody else jump in.
You left off some too.
Can I?
With Jeremy
I think
Cordell.
Erickson report was actually next, you guys. He's been waiting a while.
Okay, sorry.
Go ahead, Erickson.
Okay, thank you. I want to talk about UF disclosure first, and then I want to talk about anti-gravity and the B-2 bomber. As far as disclosure, I think, you know, I'm an absolute believer. I've had 7 sightings myself, so I'm an absolute believer. But as far as disclosure, I can't tell you if Stephen Greer is a good guy or not. But I can tell you he has some interesting testimony coming from people who had top secret clearances with the government. Now, the second part of disclosure is it's called Project Bluebeam. Project Bluebeam is where they fake an alien invasion in order to get control of the people. And in Project Bluebeam in 1991, the U.S. military plotted to, using holographic projection, project an image of Allah over Baghdad. And all this is sourced to my website. Everything I'm telling you is sourced. They plotted to do that in 1991. They say they didn't do it, but I believe they actually did. So you can imagine the holographic projection that they have today. Now, as far as anti-gravity and the B-2 bomber, I posted it up in your nest. It's a book. There are indications that the B-2 bomber has some kind of anti-gravity technology in it. And if I remember right, they have just released a new B-2 bomber very recently. And so that book will tell you about the anti-gravity technology. We've had it at least 80 years, if not 1,000 years or 2,000 years. And I did at one point, I had an article that referred, it was a Hawaii newspaper that hinted that the B-2 bomber had some kind of anti-gravity technology. Now, I actually saw a B-2 bomber fly over my house one time at about 500 feet. And the first thing that struck me about that is how slow it was moving. It should have fallen out of the sky. And that's basically all I have for now. Thanks.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing that. I think a lot of us are sitting here absorbing that for sure. Kent, go ahead. You're next, and then back to you, Lord Ludacris.
Yeah, hi Jess again, and Vinny and everyone. Yeah, just on the, I just wanted to quickly touch on the implant thing. Back in the 80s in Fremantle in Western Australia, I went to a exhibition at Freo Wharf, and it was all about alien implants, and they had implants there, supposedly, sorry, scientifically researched. But I don't remember the company that put it together. But I actually went to one back in the mid 80s in Fremantle Wharf in Western Australia, and it was all on implants and the, you know, what they got.
Lord Ludacris, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. You were talking about Corbell. I was just going to ask you if you've seen the film that he did, Patient 17. It was about alien implants.
Which is completely unsubstantiated. And
Right.
as much as I love the premise of it, nothing came out of it. There are no peer-reviewed papers. There are no scientific data behind any of the implants. It's all a bunch of horseshit until somebody proves otherwise. And it's one of those things that makes my eye twitch. And the whole thing about the community is everything is based on these stories, these anecdotal fables that people tell. People make documentaries on these things. Look at Linda Corbell. I mean, I'm sorry, Linda, what's her name?
Linda Moulton Howe.
Linda Moulton Howe. Oh my God. So look at her, and she has done a lot of historical research on cattle mutilation, especially in regards to NIDS. But if you go back and you look at NIDS, there are a lot of cattle that were found with scalpels and human type explanations attached to their bodies. And
Yep.
none of that is ever reported on. It drives me nuts.
Yeah, the FBI has a big. I think they've got a big set of files on that, with how the cows were killed and whatnot. It's interesting, man. And
Yeah.
I used to like Linda Moulton Howe, and like anyone that I may have trolled or been an asshole to at some point, I would like to apologize, because that was the phase when I found out
I
Linda Moulton
accept your
Howe.
apology.
Thank you. Yes, I know I was an asshole to a lot of people, and I would like to apologize. That was the time that I was, right about the time I found out that Bob Lazar was a straight liar,
Yeah.
that Linda Moulton Howe was lying. I can go down the list, Dolan, all these people, like I looked up to, and I thought, well, why would they lie? And then just more and more stuff has kept coming out. I was just like, I feel like an idiot, like
No, you're
spending money
not
on
an
this stuff, buying documentaries. Like, it's crazy, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, and
Lord,
I
you're
think that's why
absolutely
I talk
correct.
about cults a
Oh,
lot,
sorry,
is
go ahead.
Yeah.
because
No,
I
you're fine. Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to. I was just
oh,
saying I
I was
felt
just gonna
burned.
say I think
Like,
that's one thing that gets people like emotional, is it's very hard to accept the depth of what psyops is.
it
Like
is.
the average person doesn't really understand the level of depth of what a psyops is. And
Yeah.
so that's why I talk about growing up in a cult a lot, because I watched it roll out. It's the same playbook. They use it in cults, they use it in government, they use it in sales, they use it in religions, they use it everywhere. And I think maybe part of the emotion, yeah, is finding out that a lot of people we trusted, because we're like to be ethical people,
Bob
aren't
Lazar.
truthful.
Right.
Yeah. My father is a Groom Lake retiree. The only time I think I ever saw my father get angry was when I brought up Bob Lazar, because he doesn't like liars.
Right. Well,
Yeah,
Linda Moulton Howe was remote viewing how a fake alien died yesterday. She had like, I don't know, over 1,000 viewers, man. People are throwing her money, super chats, you know, and it was a
Yeah.
a
Jimmy
picture she
Church.
lifted off of a Brazilian website.
Yep.
Whether or not you like Steve Cambion or not, Steve Cambion, Sixth Sense got a hold of him. He sent them pictures of where he made the bust of the alien head and everything.
Yep.
You know,
Lord
and
Ludacris,
it's
it seems like you and I are always on the same chats at the same
right.
time. We don't follow each other, but you're absolutely right. Like yesterday on Jimmy Church, there was like 1.3 thousand followers or listeners on that, and unimaginably they were all just like, "Oh, I love Linda. Linda's looks so great at her age. Yada yada. I can't wait to see her cats." And I'm like, "What is going on? Like, did you guys
Dude, people
not?"
can like Linda Moulton Howe.
No, they absolutely can. I
No,
don't disagree with
bro,
that.
she is scamming people
But
left and right, man. She's taking advantage of people that are in
she
low
Okay, how
places
so? How
and with
so?
some mental
she posted
issues.
I'll tell
Area
you
Are you
exactly
51.
kidding?
how she's taking advantage if
Are you
nobody else wants to
kidding?
jump in.
She put behind a paywall an Area 51 moon alien shot, and she changed her language after people paid it and say potentially or might be, but originally when she put it behind a paywall, she said
Is.
evidence of an alien, of an extraterrestrial that the CIA and Men in Black are trying to hide from the public, or something to that.
Yeah.
And people paid,
Actual
yeah,
gray is
actual
like the big
grays or
thing.
something like that. And then she posted another one of the orange alien. And the orange
Orange.
alien, if you reverse engineer it on the picture, you'll find the original person who's in Brazil who created that alien through an actual molding, and then put the shots and stills together to create the illusion that it's an alien. And she made people pay behind a paywall to have that exclusive footage. Is that not I mean, so I agree. Steve Cambion can be a little over the top. He can be rough around the edges, but you know what? He kicks the door down and says, "I'm not going to go with these fraudsters." And so what he was pointing out was people were paying for this crap. And I posted in Jimmy Churchill's chat yesterday, or in his session. I'm like, Jimmy, ask the question, because if you think Kurt was like when he interviewed Linda, and Linda, all of a sudden at the very end of that call, her face dropped to the bottom of the floor, and
Yeah.
he
Yep.
knew
The most
exactly.
awkward silence ever.
Yeah,
Yep.
And
UFology.
if you listen to Jimmy Church has said in the past, hey, I get all my best stuff from Linda Moulton Howe because Linda Moulton Howe is full of shit. And I'm
Right.
sorry to say that, but I've called her out in the past, and that's the reason why Jimmy Church blocked me. Because when I don't know if you guys remember this, he did a film a year ago and Linda Moulton Howe was featured in it. And she said, hey, they're reptilians, and there are several different species of aliens visiting the earth, and they possess our bodies, and they create these skin suits, human skin suits that they jump into, and they blend into the community, but nobody can prove any type of fact or where that comes from. Linda Moulton Howe is no better than Corey Good or David Wilcock, in my opinion, because
Yeah.
she's so full of shit and she's so
agreed.
crazy that
She
she will
is.
not
Disagreed.
admit.
Well,
I
I think
What do you
disagree.
that this
disagree? I would love for
Hold on,
somebody to
hold on.
disagree.
Let
I
me say
just want to
this.
say this.
You guys
This
are all
also
speaking
goes,
about the
this,
obvious people.
Let me say
These
one
are all the
thing.
obvious people you guys are talking about. We need to talk about the people like Brandon Fogel and people like him who are banking off this stuff. That's what we need to speak about. I mean, all these
There
people
you
you guys
go.
are talking about. Of course, yes, we all know that they're full of shit. But what about the people that are in the main view right now? Really getting the shine. I mean, I'm not saying like I want the shine or anything like that. I'm just saying like they're the ones that are, Corbell and Elizondo are together now. So I mean, what's going on now, guys? I mean, those are the
She's
ones that
hold
really
on
need to
Linda
speak
Moulton
about.
Howe, man. She's stealing money from the artist for one. Number two, her remote viewer is calling him a liar, a government asset. He's lying. That's a real alien. He's just lying. I mean, how deceptive do you have to be? I mean, that is
I just
She
horrible.
I don't know
copyrighted
what's
his work. She
Yes, she
you
copyrighted
guys
the
did.
are
guy's
you guys are
work and
holding
claimed
this
it as
more than
her
we
own
need
and said
to.
it was exclusive when the guy in the Brazil isn't making any of that money. She never referred that money back to that poor artist who created those pictures, and she's saying that no, I copyrighted. You know how hard it is for somebody internationally to try to file a claim
She's an
against somebody?
artist too.
Or anybody
She's an
else.
She's
And
not
artist.
an artist.
She's an
She's a
artist.
fraud.
I respect the fact that she is an artist, and I respect that the fact that she is a female and she is older in age, but that should not give her an excuse to fraud millions of people over. Okay, so anybody who's saying, "Oh, we should respect her. She's older in age. She's a female," and whatever claims that you have, she should be held accountable just like every single other person in this community. Okay, if we're going to talk about equality, I'm a female. I am of a certain age. There is no reason that she should get special treatment, especially since we know the shit that she comes up with.
Okay, it's quiet. I'm
Agreed.
going to jump in if I'm allowed to. Can I jump in, Jess?
Is that Kent?
Jump
It
in.
is. It is. It's Ken. Okay,
Hey, Mike.
so just a quick one. Okay, so Jess, you know me. You're not going to agree with everything I say, but just on the cattle
That's I love you,
mutilations.
man.
Just on the cattle mutilations, we've discussed a little bit this. I'm not going to take a side. All I'm going to say is there has not, to my knowledge, anywhere in the world been a successful prosecution for trespassing or animal treatment, mistreatment, anywhere related to any single cattle mutilation case.
Nor
So
will
that's,
they if the government is involved in it.
oh yeah, but okay, Jess, but we discussed that a little bit as well. And I said, okay, fair enough, maybe they are, but any information that they could need by selectively getting samples from different animals in different locations could be done legally, easily, and ethically without having to invade people's farms. So that's also a point to consider as well, mate. Just a point to
But
consider.
it's a point to consider, but it's also a point to consider if you're giving the reasons behind it. If the
Oh, no,
government
yeah,
knows something else that, hey, not only are your cows poisoned because of the atomic tests that we have done in your area, not only
yeah,
are you
yeah,
poisoned, your cattle is poisoned, but the
yeah.
entire globe pretty much is poisoned. That's a reason to hide it, and that's a
It is,
reason why
yeah.
they would not come out with that.
Okay, but by the same token, there's a really good report that was released back in I'm pretty sure it was about 89, called the Downwinders. And it was all about the plant in Pennsylvania that made the uranium and the nuclear material for Nagasaki and Hiroshima. They were doing controlled releases of radiation from there, up to 2,500 rads at a time. There was over 4,000 sheep that were born deformed. There was a lot of radiation sicknesses. There were children. The pilots who were doing the monitoring used to cry because the red balloon hotspot markers that they used for the radiation, they would see kids playing with them in the fields. So this it's a real report. It's a real thing, and the follow up to that was actually being done by the government for, as far as I know, it's never stopped. So, and keep in mind as well, folks, that all of the waste from that facility is buried in containers designed to last for 25 years. So I see where you're coming from, but there has been government functions that are directly dealing with the radiation saturation around the globe.
Can I say something, Jess?
Yeah, absolutely. Jump on.
I know people have had their hands up, but honestly, I've seen this person in every space I've been in, and I would love to hear their thoughts. And that's Taurus Mataya, who's got his hand up, and I'm wondering if we could let him speak.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And yeah, I do jump in and out of a lot of spaces because I'm a lifelong learner, as I can see everybody is, and I'm trying to do the best I can to figure things out. And so thank you, Jessica, for hosting this space tonight. I just have a couple of passing comments more than anything else. I know there's been a lot of conversations recently about George Knapp and Mr. Knapp's credibility. I don't know George Knapp personally, although we have had interactions over the years, namely regarding some projects that I did with Chris Bartel and his photography. Um, I find Mr. Knapp to be very gracious and humble and very trustworthy. Um, I feel that he doesn't really try to step on anybody's toes, and if anybody has something to say or claim, he will pretty much back away and let you say what you want to say. I would also add that Mr. Knapp has been in journalism for well over 30 years. He's won notable prizes. I mean, Peabody Awards and Edward R. Murrow Awards. So somebody with such a distinguished career, I just find it highly unlikely to risk their personal reputation to such a degree with a lot of things that people have raised, not just in this space, but in other spaces and on other online or social media platforms, I should say.
I would jump in and say
Yeah,
that
of
you
course.
have absolutely no idea how the CIA, how government counterintelligence works, and how we have operatives within our media from the beginning to end. It doesn't really matter who you look at, where you go. We have people in place to
Can I stop
continue
you
this
right there?
narrative.
Because you just leveled an allegation that somehow I don't know anything about counterintelligence or CIA. With all due respect, my wife works in the intelligence community, so I do know my fair share about um, the intelligence community and many people that I interact with here in the Washington, D.C. area. So I respectfully disagree with that.
Well, if you look at every single counterintelligence operative that we know about, that we are aware of, George Knapp has had his finger into it. I'm not saying that he is part of it. I'm just saying that he knows about it. And the fact that he covered up OSAP for as many years as he did, it's suspicious as fuck to me, to be quite honest. And I do not discount the fact that he may be playing a part in that.
Well, let me put kind of a thought experiment, and I'd be interested to hear how other people perceive this as well. Although your point is taken, Jessica. Um, in law, we have something called attorney-client privilege, where clients can tell attorneys certain things that they would not dare reveal necessarily in the court of law because it may jeopardize the outcome of the court case, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they're guilty of the crime that they're accused. In medicine, we also have what's called doctor-patient privilege, which parallels attorney-client privilege in terms of disclosing certain things to a medical professional with the hopes that they would keep it private because they don't want certain things that could affect a wide variety of things, personal relationships, work relationships, having an employer know that you are sick to some degree, that you may not be able to perform the duties, or they may form the impression that they may not be able to perform the duties. Even myself, as a museum curator, we have kind of an unwritten rule of a donor curator privilege, where I'm aware of many donors and collectors who have world-class works of art in their private collections. I would not dare compromise who these people are, where they live, what they have, for a wide variety of reasons: insurance, theft, a wide variety of different reasons. And so,
Terrace.
yes, I'm sorry.
Oh,
I would
no,
like to
no, I
jump
didn't
in
mean to
and say,
interject you with you. I just wanted to say I I can appreciate your kind of like legal perspective, but let me ask you this. George Knapp has, been part of a documentary, has written a couple of books, and you mentioned, confidentiality between, like, a couple examples between a medical profession and a lawyer privileges. But don't you think George Knapp ethically owes folks who are purchasing a documentary or buying a book or subscribing to, a paywall? Don't you think that he has an obligation to produce? And I guess more than that, in your opinion, has he produced a single point of evidence that would suggest that what he has wrote or the documentaries that he has produced with Corbell is legitimate?
Um, I don't want to go back and go what the previous person said of like a loaded question, but there's just a lot in there. So I'm going to do my best as I was writing notes, because I want to be very thoughtful in how I respond to this. Not because I'm trying to defend, George Knapp or Jerry McCrimmell or anyone. I'm indifferent one way or another. And what I'm just communicating is my personal experiences, and it happens to be counter to what other people may view. And that's okay. I think that's fine.
I think that is
we're
fine.
we're all entitled to our opinions, and I think that's
Agreed.
what these spaces are about, is to hopefully reconcile things and walk away with new perspectives.
Can I say one thing? I understand what you're saying about George Knapp, but as far as I've seen, that he has not produced a single point of evidence to contribute to the disclosure. Like, he has a lot of anecdotal evidence, but there's nothing concrete, hardcore, in fact. In regards to what you're talking about with people and evidence that can harm people, there have been a lot of tests close to where I was brought up and where I was raised that was kept under wraps. And I was fishing. I was brought up fishing in a pond downwind from a place where they tested, where they enacted a nuclear reactor, and just to see what it would do to the environment. There were frogs that jumped into it that were frozen and that were basically just the way that they are. They still are today. You can look at them and you can say, hey, that frog hasn't aged in 50 years. And the water that was run off from that area and from that site, I fished out of that same pond. I ate the freaking fish that come out of the same pond. So I have a little bit of an emotional attachment to what's going on and what's going on in our nuclear within the United States, within our nuclear facilities, and with our technology that's upcoming that we are hiding, and how it relates to the UFO phenomenon today, because I know for a fact we are hiding things that we're not bringing out to the public. And it's not everything. I do believe in the phenomenon. I do believe in the paranormal, but I think that we do a lot of shit that's not brought to light that hurts a lot of people. And I think a lot of what I'm seeing is also going on in the whole Skinwalker Ranch, Utah community. And it bothers me. So somebody else talk. That's something I have to contribute. Nobody wants to eat radioactive fish, is all I'm saying. Okay. And I know for a fact that we do it. I know for a fact that we have tests on our community, on everybody that's in the United States. And if we can do it at the ground level, can you guys imagine what we're doing from space? Can you guys imagine what we are doing to affect our minds, our community, all the shit that we're going through? Everything that we're seeing, everything that we're experiencing, there may be other explanations for it. Maybe freaking ET, visiting from whatever star system, but it may be our own government.
If I can just respond really quickly, just because there were questions asking me, and I'd like to at least have the
Yeah, go
courtesy to
ahead.
respond, and then
Please
I'm
do
happy.
go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry,
I
and then
couldn't do
you can
anything.
jump
I'm
in,
not in
Benny.
the co-host position anymore, so I'm like muted with everybody.
No problem, no problem. I know that there was a question posed about, has George Knapp provided evidence for any of the claims, that he's made over the years? Is that a fair statement to make?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think.
that's what I was.
Okay.
Yeah.
In his first book, The Hunt for the Skinwalker, he has a chapter on the wolf, and that while nobody's captured this wolf, and people saw that as kind of outlandish or a fairy tale, I've worked with Chris Bartell on this project, and he has experienced it. And not only has he experienced that, and he's been on the record many times as mentioning that. But aside from that, he's documented it. He encountered it with another officer on duty. I've examined those photos. I find them to be pretty interesting, for sure. Does it prove that indeed all the claims are true? No, but it keeps certain things alive, and I think that that's important. In research, what you'll find over time, and I do this a lot in academia, where there are many things that don't make sense for me in the beginning. I happen to be a print specialist, so I focused on prints of the late 18th century, and there are many inconsistencies. And sometimes before I make a formal declaration or when I publish something, I relay it to other professionals, and that
Can I
takes time. It takes time.
ask you a
Um,
question?
yeah,
Can I ask you a question? I have like a really serious question.
yeah.
Earlier you were talking about like doctor client, doctor patient privilege, attorney client privilege, and I totally get that. I understand that 100%. Would you agree, though, that there are doctors that are no good, that will violate that privilege, that there are lawyers who will and have violated that privilege, and that it is very possible that there are journalists who will also willingly I'm not saying he's one of them. I'm giving you this as a hypothetical. I'm naming no one that are willing to be a part of a psyops. Do you agree that psyops exist?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
If psyops didn't exist, we wouldn't have whole military units devoted to psyops.
Okay, I just want to understand
Yeah,
your
I agree with that
that.
statement. Of
Okay.
course.
I think what you're seeing here, if you don't mind me sharing, is that these people have been proven, they've been caught in lies here and there. And I think when someone gets caught in lies, Doty's a good example, right? I personally don't hate Doty. I like to listen to his stories. I don't know if they're all real or not. It is what it is, right? He's not trying to sell that or whatever. But anyways, like, do you agree that that's possible, that that's what people are dealing with mentally, is that they've seen the lies and their trust is gone and they want more proof?
I could totally see that. Of course,
Okay.
I think it depends on where your knowledge base is on the subject. And I think that many people who have been doing this for way longer than I have, and there are probably some old schoolers there, maybe more old school than me. I don't consider myself necessarily the old school, but it depends on your knowledge base. I work a lot with students, and even though they're entering freshmen come at things in very different perspectives because of the backgrounds, demographics, and so on and so forth. And so the same thing lies with any, discipline. And ufology is no different. To your other point, I would just say that every profession is riddled with people who will lie, try to advance their own career, pad, CVs or resumes in order to get an edge over somebody else in a position. That's just general human nature. But because that happens in ufology, I don't think that that's a disqualifying factor, because it happens across the board in a whole host of other disciplines.
Yeah,
But
no,
would you
Tariff,
go
I
to a
agree, but
doctor? Would you go back to a doctor or back to an attorney who had violated you like that? Or you felt had violated you like that? Would you go, oh well, he deserves a second chance?
No, I would not. But at the same
Okay.
time, there's also a common practice within medicine that I apply to other forms as well, which is getting a second and third opinion. Where if something sounds weird, I'll go ask another doctor, and if
Got
that
you.
sounds weird, I'll get another. At some point, you could get into a situation where in complete denial. But I do the same thing
Hmm.
even within academia, where sometimes somebody will say something, and these are some of the people I deal with are world class, very distinguished scholars, with which I will question whether or not that's accurate, and then I'll go to
Right.
another scholar, and I'll go to another scholar,
Hmm.
and I try to build out a mosaic of knowledge so that I
Yeah.
can then see where are the intersections where justified belief comes in, and it's to an extent where I can make an informed opinion that's
Hmm.
as unbiased as possible.
Tariff.
And that's where I lie, and that's where I stand with pretty much everyone in ufology. I'm not here to
Yeah.
defend one particular
So,
person to the death or anything like that. I'm just trying to offer a different counterpoint, because
Sure.
I don't think it's fair to pile on people without, them necessarily having an opportunity to
Okay.
defend themselves.
So, Terrace, that's exactly where I wanted to go. And I appreciate you beating me to the punch. So, the opportunity to defend themselves. So, it's my understanding that George Knapp has had several opportunities to be on camera through a number of different affiliates, some national, some low key, to be able to go through and talk through a Bob Lazar and or a Skinwalker Ranch, including the most recent that we have on record with Greenstreet from the New York Post, to be able to come on and explain his claims, and denied the request to be able to come on camera and defend himself on writing a book without actually producing 1 ounce of evidence. So you beat me to the punch. So if he's being extended these offers but is not coming on to defend his position, I mean, what are we to make of that?
Well, I will answer that question very simply. Why would he? I mean, I wouldn't. If you know that you're going in there, not necessarily that people are going to make it uncomfortable or whatever, but
he
people
wrote a
are
book.
I understand. I understand the question. Let me just answer very quickly. If I could
produce a documentary. I don't mean to cut you off again, but I just wanted to prove a second point that
sure,
he and Jeremy Corbell produced, even though he tried to keep himself outside of the Jeremy Corbell documentary, he was actually part of that documentary and profited from that documentary. And he won't go on record to be able to substantiate any of the Bob Lazar claims. Sorry, I just wanted to point that out.
That's okay. Your point is taken. How I would answer it is, look at politics, right? There are certain networks that skew more to one side or the others. And more times than not, you'll find politicians, depending on their political proclivities, going where they're going to have more favorable coverage. It just makes sense, when you do it that way, that if you know that people, like, again, I'm not George Knapp. I'm going to let him speak for himself. People are asking me, what would George Knapp do? If the time comes, when the time comes, if he wants to say something, fine. I'm just offering my perspective as to why I think he's not doing certain things. And, given the path that, Stephen Greenstreet has beaten with respect to, his recent treatment of stuff, I mean, I wouldn't go on his show. Why? Why would you?
I mean, so you're talking about George Knapp. He can't verify things. He's bringing on people that are anonymous year after year. So, I mean,
but I think what you're breaking up a little bit, Erica. I just want you to know. I think what Taurus, it's not fair to make him speak for George Knapp. We all want to know why George Knapp, like Dodie, is literally willing to join a space and speak to the community. I like that. I would love to see George Knapp, Lou Elizondo. Look, if you're going to ask me about, put me on the hot seat. I'm not afraid to go on the hot seat about my story. So I think it would be a good thing for them to be willing to come, and they should have a thick skin. They have fantastic claims. Be prepared for the questions and be willing to answer them. That's all.
But is it weird that Dodie is suddenly on a pedestal now, or at least in some respect, seen as better because he's
he's not seen as better. He's not on a pedestal. That's a perception.
I don't see him as better.
He's simply that. It's simply that. It's simply that. Dodie understands that the public has a lot of perception about him. He has long admitted what his job was. He doesn't claim to be a saint. He says, I was a fucked up human being. I've heard him say it. Right? At least have some damn accountability, right? I can have a little bit of admiration for that. But don't make fantastic claims and not be willing. I'm just saying it would be nice if these other people would do the same.
The thing about Dodie, Vinny, is the fact that he has come out and said, hey, yeah, I did all this fucked up shit to the UFO community, but yet he's still pushing the same stories. He went on Stephen Cambian's show a couple of months ago and said, hey, there was an alien that was found at Area 51. He was shot down. He was buried in the ground up underneath it. He is still pushing his same batshit fucking claims that were created.
But he told you he was a liar. He said, I am
I
the
know.
liar.
But you know what?
Said it.
Robert Salas, look at Robert Salas. He went to Brazil and he told Brazil, and I don't know if you've ever, done any extensive research into him. He parrots Doty's claims.
Yeah.
You cannot be a counterintelligence operative sowing bullshit information into the UFO community where all of these other people, including Robert Salas, I don't know if everybody knows who he is, but he is the
I
guy
know
who
who he
is
is.
famous for being at Malmstrom Air Force Base when the nuclear incursions happened. He said that there were UFOs that flew over
So
that
you
shut
wouldn't
down
talk
their
to
nuclear missiles. And then he's
and
repeating Doty's stuff. Like, how do you do that? How are we
I'm
supposed to
saying
trust
though,
what he's saying?
would you not so all I'm saying, I'm not putting Doty on a pedestal or putting a crown on his head. All I said was he's willing to come into a space and talk. So then what are you if George Knapp said, sure, I'll come to a space and talk, you're saying you don't want to hear anything he has to say?
No, I will listen to him, but I'm saying that
Okay.
everybody who listens to him after the fact, and just because he said, "Hey, I lied to you," and then he tells 25 more lies, you shouldn't believe everything that he says after the fact. He's saying, "I'm lying to you. I'm lying to you. I'm going to continue to lie to you," and people can see that, but people are not seeing that. They're continuing to eat up whatever he says after the fact because he has come out. That's the issue I have with Doty, with Moore, with and you know what? It doesn't stop at them. There are so many
Mhm.
people that are interwoven in this community that are bullshitting and are lying and feeding people full of stories, and people are eating it up. That's the
Yep.
issue that I have.
Yep. And I would just say, I know Cambion can be out there, but I'm just telling you, if you go back and you listen to that interview, I think Cambion does an exceptional job. And I think Doty puts himself back in that spotlight of, can we even listen to this guy? So
Can I?
I
That's where
agree.
Campion.
Can
That's
I?
where he thrived. Actually, that's where his
Okay.
beauty comes into the fact that
I think.
he allows these people to come forward.
Go ahead,
Let me
Eric.
just. Yeah, I
Go
just
ahead,
want
Eric.
so everybody knows kind of. I want to share this with you and see here. I already got like a couple people today on Twitter came at me like I've got some special information that I'm keeping secret from everybody, and I know somebody at the DoD, which is not true. Vinny knows this. I've been in boots on the ground in the field researcher for 6 years now, and I happened to meet Doty at a conference 3 years ago, and I had been already researching him, and I was able to sit down at a table and talk to him and get him to at least have enough interest in having another conversation with me. So everything, I just want to fast forward now. I've been talking to Richard Doty very often for the last 3 years. I've been encouraging him to come out and tell more and put himself out there, like what you're asking Lou Elizondo to do, and you're asking George Knapp to do. The reason why Doty joined Twitter, and the reason why he did Stephen Cambion's show, and the reason why he did Vinny's show and my show on Alter that got deleted off of YouTube, is because I've been telling him that if you really want to make a difference, if you really want people to trust you, if you really want people to give you a second chance, you need to join these conversations like we're having right now. And he's going to be coming. You're all going to get a chance to talk to him, but we're going to have to conduct it in a fair and responsible way. I just don't think we should assume that everybody's lying all the time. I mean, I agree with what Taurus is saying. Is even George Knapp. I don't know if George Knapp's lying or not, but I don't think it's fair to assume that he's lying to us about everything now. I just think we
But
need to slow down a little bit.
The fact that Doty come out and said, "Hey, you know what, you guys, I lied in the past. I fed
Correct.
Benowitz full of all kinds of shit, but you guys can
Correct.
trust me now." Is that just because he said that? Is that grounds for us to take
No.
everything that he has at
He
word?
knows he's got to prove himself. That's the thing I told him. I
But
said, you
there's
got to
nothing
prove
that he has
yourself.
said to prove himself. He's still saying the same fucking stories
Well,
he
the
said for
time
20
is
years.
coming. It's these guys. You got to understand. He's best friends with Hal Puthoff and Kit Green. Everything Doty says, he's got to be very careful about. So he wants to
Which
talk.
means
Trust me.
we should not listen to Hal Puthoff and fucking Kit Green. If you really
We
want to
should
get me
listen
started
to
on
him.
those,
We should
Kit
listen to
why?
all of
Green.
them. We should
Why?
listen to Kit Green. We should listen to Lou Elizondo. We should listen to George Knapp, because the more they tell us, the easier the puzzle is to figure out.
Look at look at how put off, and look at all of the scams and bullshit that he has been involved in the past, including MK Ultra, including the LSD studies, including remote viewing, include everything that he
Scientology.
has done. Scientology.
Scientology.
Why should we take anything that he says at face value? If anybody does, they're a little bit loony, and they're not being they're not looking at him with a good point of view, in my opinion.
What
I agree with you.
may I interject for one sec? Because
Sure.
Jessica, just kind of piggybacking on what you said. Why should we believe these people? Well, why should we believe anybody at this point? I mean,
Exactly.
look at government or coworkers or even maybe people in this space. For example, we all have weird beliefs. If you're Christian, which the president is, the vice president, the whole host of other people that I'm assuming many people voted for. He's a Catholic. What does that mean? It means he acknowledges, the Old and New Testament. He believes water was turned into wine, that somebody walked on water, and so on and so forth, that lepers were healed. There's no evidence aside from an old book that's second or third hand witness testimony, apparently, that can attest or substantiate everything. Yet these people are in power. Yet we vote them in. Yet we give them the ultimate trust of being the most powerful individuals in the world. So
they should pay taxes.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. But we can't reduce everything to just this person lied this time for that. Therefore, like everything is shot. I think people have different reasons for misleading people in some arenas and not in others. I'm not saying that that's what Mr. Knapp is doing, but I think, again, we need to be careful about how we reduce people and their backgrounds, because that doesn't always align or match up with who these people are in terms of their personal character and what they're trying to achieve in the end for people.
I'd
In
like
this
Why
to
arena, if
mislead?
you
respond
lie to
to
me
that.
one time,
Why mislead in the first place when you said you can't take someone who misleads someone and throw the baby out with the bathwater? Like, what? Why not? Like, why are they misleading me to begin with in the first place? If
exactly, Joel.
they
If
if they
they're
needed to mislead me, then they're misleading me for a reason and a purpose. It may not be the purpose today. It may be the purpose 5 years from now.
it just means that
I
they're
mean, I'm
better
I'm
at it.
just exactly. That's a silly take. It's like take Linda Moulton Howe. Uh, she's done great work, but now she's having people remote view, artwork from Brazil and stuff, stolen stuff. It's crazy. Paywall stuff like Skinwalker Ranch paywall. I mean,
Again,
this stuff is
I
paradigm
just think it's
changing. What we're talking about, they're claiming the things that are being claimed by a lot of these people that are tied in, all in the same circle, are claiming that this is world shattering. That people can't handle it, but they're selling it behind a freaking paywall. The dude's worth $400 million. I mean, he bought the property. He even brags about it. I bought it as an investment. He bought it as a tax write-off. It just happened to be something that the History Channel could, create nonsense like the curse of.
I think that was an accident. Go ahead. Go ahead and finish your point.
Sorry, Joelle, that was
Oh,
an
it's okay.
accident. Go
No,
ahead.
yeah, no. I'm just saying, like it's hard to take these people serious when they're involved over and over and over and over. Same names, same connections.
Yeah,
TTSA. I mean, they deleted the video of them introducing Lou to a fake crowd and fake, media pool and whatnot. It's gone. They tried to scrub it off the internet. Why?
Look at
Because
the
they had a
stuff that me
birthday
and Vinny
balloon
have
and
been
they
talking about.
and he claimed that
Vinny
he
has
owned the $22 million program when he didn't. I mean, it's the goalposts have been moved every step of the way. So, and I apologize, I didn't mean to talk so much, but that's what gets some of us frustrated when you get invested and you trust people and you believe them because, hey, they have this title, they're this or that, they claim that they're military, this, that. So you believe those people, and then when they dupe you, you feel like a sucker and you kind of get pissed and you're like, screw this, like I want to know what the answer is too, because I've seen weird stuff, but we're not going to get it from like the History Channel or any kind of counterintelligence officer. I hate to tell anybody that. I mean, it should be a given.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Lord, I will just
Exactly.
say that the only thing you should do is make sure you switch back to your Darth Vader theme, because now that I get to see you under the mask, it's not too appealing.
When Taurus was talking about, he said, "Oh, why can we trust anybody then?" I think that's a bad faith argument, and I don't mean that disrespectfully, but I need to point that out. The way you trust people is they provide evidence for the claims that they make. It's that simple. You talked about the law system before. I also work for a law company, and in a court of law, you're supposed to back up your claims, and obviously the best way to do that is with evidence, with documents, with citations, so on and so on. So the trouble is, we hear this over and over again in the community. Oh, he's a real nice guy. I met him at a conference once. He said nice things to me. Well, of course they say nice things to you. It's their job. It's called affirmation, so that they can make themselves more appealing to you, and then you're going to be more receptive to what they have to say. So whether you like someone or not, or whether they come across as a nice person, is completely irrelevant to the conversation when it comes to pursuing information and trying to, work out what is true and what is false. So, to Jess's point, Knapp has not produced a single shred of evidence over 30 years to back up a very large amount of claims. And he's gone on to groom and bring up Jeremy Corbell. He's grooming someone to take his place. And Corbell, I think we can all agree, has a horrific reputation for the claims he makes. So if you want to talk about someone's character, are you going to base your assessment of their character on their actions? Or are you going to base your assessment of their character on whether you feel like you kind of like them because you met them once or you talked to them once? Elizondo is also very, very good at this. And it's no secret, I'm not an Elizondo fan. Don't have anything personally against the guy. He seems like the kind of guy I'd like to hang out and have a beer with. But that is irrelevant. He comes on every podcast and smothers the host in platitudes and affirmations at the beginning before he starts talking. Whenever he speaks on Twitter, it's just platitudes and platitudes, and we're all in it together, and you're my buddies, and blah blah. And it's just like he's just working the crowd so bad. So again, if you're going to base your assessments of people's credibility on whether they come across as like nice guys to you, then you're going to get worked up and down 6 ways from Sunday every single time, especially when you're dealing with professionals who've been trained in this. They've been trained in psychology, and they know what to say and how to say it. So it, like Jack Brewer says, I said everything what begins and ends with, what does he say? Like the quality of the evidence. And I think if you stick to that, then yeah, you can work out who to believe and not to believe.
I love that so much. I literally tweeted about this today, Joel, and I was looking at it so that I could pin it because of a tweet that Joe put out today on this long quote of Lou's, and it so reminded me of a cult leader. So humble. They know how to speak to you. They know how to touch your heart. They know how to capture your attention. This is their training. And that is a little bit alarming that people don't ping on that. I'll nest this post that I just did today. So thank you very much for bringing that up because I see that as well. I am not sure who all was left, but I believe giving Taurus a chance to speak and respond to some of what the people have said to him. And then we do have some people in line. So I'm trying to cycle out speakers for us. So I don't know if we can try to keep it maybe like to a 3-minute line or something like that.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Benny. And I'll have this as kind of my last comment, if that's okay. And I'm happy to interact with people, on Twitter and so on and so forth. So again, thank you for the opportunity. Joel, is it correct that you mentioned that you're an attorney?
No, I'm not an attorney. I
Oh,
work at a law firm.
Okay. Because I think it's important to note that, whether an attorney or a law firm, when you're in a court of law, for example, the number one objective of a lawyer is not to bring about truth, right? It's to win a case. And
Yeah, yeah.
And lawyers, they fight amongst each other, not just to bring in evidence, but to withhold evidence, right? So it's a double-edged sword, and it's something that's very important to realize, not just in law, but just in general when you're dealing with complex subjects like the UFO subjects, because I definitely understand, and I agree with many people that over the years there's been immense secrecy, and people have paid in many cases heavy prices, and professional life or death situations, and I get all that, but what I'm saying is, there are other people that have been doing this for a long time. At the end of the day, they're trying to help, and I see Knapp as one of those people who really is genuinely trying to help. I know that people want to see, maybe not see the bodies, but see, more physical evidence, a whole host of other things.
Well, let's not
I do
say
too.
more. Let's
I
not
do
say
too.
more. Let's say any, because words matter and details matter. And again, I kind of feel your representation is a little bit disingenuous here.
But what do you take as evidence? Because I mean, I got cut off the last time when I was presenting. Again, in his book, The Wolf Case, it matches up with one of the officers who encountered something like that and actually documented it, has physical evidence. I did a whole exhibition about it.
Hey, Terrace.
But nobody cares about that. And then the same thing, hitchhiker. Like people have had that. Those are legitimate experiences. Maybe they're not qualifiable, excuse me, but these are things that are happening, and
Terrace.
over time when people state certain things, that's data. It may not be the best data, but over time it builds an aggregate of knowledge, from which we can start to think about, okay, maybe there's something to it, maybe we're missing something, and maybe we need to reframe or restructure how we're going about this to better understand what it is that people are actually seeing or
Terrace.
experiencing.
Can I just ask you, on the Corbell documentary, that even though George Knapp tried to keep himself a little bit distanced from it, you would agree that, let's talk about what's good evidence. So the only people in that documentary that actually spoke up about Bob Lazar was his wife, a coworker, his mom, and I think a neighbor. There was nothing that really substantiated anything about Bob Lazar. And I understand what you're saying about good evidence, but wouldn't you think that
How
when
about
somebody
element
reaches out to him,
115? How about videotape of element 115 floating? How about the secret Russian reports that he smuggled out of Russia almost 30 years ago and has never made available? These are actual physical things he claims exist.
You know what? George Knapp also has said that he was going to produce something about the stuff that he smuggled out of Russia. And he said earlier this year that he was working on something in regards to that, but he hasn't produced it yet.
Well, he
Exactly.
released a picture. He did release a picture, and it was a high altitude balloon. It looked like a jellyfish
Wow.
from like a cockpit of like a MiG-29 or something like that. That was one of the things he smuggled out. But he claimed that him and Bob Lazar buried element 115. They all
and I agree. And so I just want to be fair for
they're
Taurus.
pushing.
Don't you think that if George Knapp was, somewhat involved in that when they made the mockery of Lazar being rated about element 115, but they purposely excluded the fact that it was actually related to somebody who had purchased material from Bob Lazar, who had either exposed his wife or he himself may have passed? Don't you think there's like at least some obligation from George Knapp? And I understand the refute of evidence. Like, I understand where you're coming from, like from a legal perspective, but don't you think George Knapp deserves to be sat in front of a panel and at least asked, well, why didn't you discuss, or why didn't you portray, or why didn't you document, or why didn't you show these following factors? Because him not doing anything continues to mount against him.
Yeah.
And so I
You know,
understand
you
where you're
brought up
coming from,
some
but
damn
that's
good facts, and I would love to hear what Terrace has to say about it. But absolutely, in my opinion, George Knapp and everybody else that he has fingered among the years, especially Bob Lazar, and some of the claims that people have made that has been in the forefront of the community, those people need to be on stand. Those people need to testify, unless it's complete and utter bullshit. Those people need to testify in Congress. Like, those are the people that we need to hear from. If it's true, if it's not, we all know it's not true, and that he's been pushing this bullshit story all along.
Yeah, Terrace, I think you're
Yes.
really just pushing too hard on the personality thing.
I
Yeah.
don't think so. With all
Well,
due respect, I don't think so. And if I can have an opportunity to respond, and again, I'm not trying to defend. I feel like I'm being put in a position to defend George
well,
Knapp, and that's
you
not,
did kind
you know.
of come out cheerleading for George Knapp, so I don't think
I
that's
mean,
unreasonable.
yeah, maybe I should just put my profile pic as George Knapp, and
Well, hey,
or maybe
before
just
you
for
answer,
today,
Taurus.
unofficial. But
Oh,
again, like if people have all these questions, I mean, find his email, like DM him, keep the pressure on. It's no different than like, you wanting to get the ear of like,
but Terrace,
what,
he
let
has
me let
not.
me fit. I mean, you guys are asking me questions to answer,
Let
I
him
know, but
finish.
and
what
you're
you're
not giving.
escaping is the fact that he has refused to
Yeah.
appear in an audience or the obligation to be able to sit in front of Green Street to answer questions. He refused to do so. So when you go on the defense for him,
Hey,
why isn't he going in front of the
you're
national
making
media
good
or the
points.
Wait.
public?
Let Taurus finish, please. You're making good points. Let him finish, please.
You're making I'm not discounting what you're saying. I think that's a valid point, but we should be, also putting, playing the game of, put the shoe on the other foot. If you were George Knapp and you were listening to all the people just piling on like that, would you go on something like that to clear the record? I bet you probably wouldn't. And again, I'm going back to I stand firmly with my statement that I mentioned before. Why should he, if he knows that it's going to be an inhospitable environment?
Because he hasn't backed anything up.
Well,
So, I'm going to
I
answer your
And again,
questions.
and
I'm going to answer his question.
again, I mean,
If I'm going
let
to
me.
sit on a panel and somebody's going to ask me, Mr. Patrick, can you attest to the X, Y, and Z? If I can't, I'm not even going to dare show up
Yeah.
because I can't. But he is making these claims and is not fulfilling his obligation to help substantiate anything.
But again, you asked me to give you some examples. I give you two examples of a very, very good witness, one that provided physical evidence in photography. You're welcome to look at it. It's an academic product by a Big Ten university that I work for. I don't know what else I can provide to you.
I don't want you to be in a position where you're defending other people. I don't think any of us should have to be in a position to defend anybody
Well,
else.
in this case, it's not so much defending, George Knapp, but the work that he's done dovetails with my academic work, and so
Okay, well,
from
Terrace,
time to
then
time.
how is a PhD thesis wiped out across, when you're trying to graduate and get your PhD and you have to have that review? How is that completely wiped out? I can understand if a yearbook or what have you, but explain that, because that's never been explained to this
Well,
day. And again, I don't attack
let
you.
me
I
tell.
understand you're trying to be like legal, from a legal perspective, but how is that possible?
Well, let me tell. I'll answer that question. In this case, I feel confident to back Mr. Knapp up on this, only because I'm familiar with his views on this. 2 years ago, he was actually on the NPR affiliate of Las Vegas, where they asked him about his professional background, and he said he doesn't believe he got those degrees. So he did. He has been on the record at amending certain things.
Yeah, I would agree with
You can
that
look
too,
it up.
guys.
As a matter of fact, I'll try and find it and I'll post it and I'll
I
tag
actually
you so you
know
can see
that.
it.
So
Can I
why
jump
doesn't the
in?
If you
credibility
know it, then
work
why are
towards?
you asking the question?
Hey,
Because
hold
it
on,
just shows
hold on.
about the
Okay,
credibility.
No, it does.
everyone.
It
Hold
doesn't.
on.
All right. Hey, guys, I'm just going to say, I'm going to jump in and I'm going to say, as far as George Knapp is concerned, there are a lot of discrepancies in every single bit of evidence that he has presented, regardless of whether it's George Knapp on going forward. Okay? Up until right now, everything that he says, he can't back up. There is not a single piece of evidence George Knapp has ever produced that he can back up.
So
That's fact.
I wanna put this on a breaker a little bit. So I want to challenge Terrace. I'm gonna switch topics a little bit for y'all. And Jess, I appreciate whoever approved you speaking right now.
Yeah, go
So
ahead.
yeah, so I want to put a little stopper on that. So Terrace, I want to challenge you because you're very heavily involved with the Galileo project in some aspect. So Galileo project had a conference set up at the very beginning of August that seems to have disappeared from the website and now requires some login from Harvard Credentials and probably Guest Express or whatever it is. Um, can can you explain why that is the case? Like what happened to the conference for Galileo Project?
Uh, yeah. I mean, I'm not an organizer of the conference, so I can't really speak to the logistics or anything. And I didn't really see what happened, but I suspect if I understand you correctly, there was something there advertising it that's no longer there. Is that correct?
Yeah, it had I don't know anywhere from like 50 plus attendees, which included the likes of Lou Elizondo and you included, and I think most of the people at Skinwalker or whatever.
Mhm.
But yeah, and seemingly it has disappeared within the last week. It's pinned on my profile if you would like to check it out. So I did want to press you on something that's related to you
Yeah.
rather than
Yeah.
George
No,
Knapp, right?
I think that the conference is actually they're calling it a conference, but it's kind of more of a an in-person meetup with available members effectively is my understanding of it. I'm not a presenter. I actually was planning on attending, but I actually have something going on at my university that prohibits me from attending. But it's basically a conference where people will be presenting their papers that will be
Yeah,
forthcoming.
there's a
That will be
handful of
forthcoming
papers.
in an
Yeah.
academic journal that's going to be published later this year, and we're
Can
So
we
wrapping.
ask why? Can I wait? I have a question. Why? Why are these secret meetings being held? Why are you not allowing the public to be privy to that stuff?
no, it was public. It was public to be fair, and it's pinned on my profile if you
But when
actually
you
want
go
to
to the
look.
website, it says access denied.
Access denied.
So,
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
right. So I think the question is why does it have to be done in a private room, then put in a paper for everybody to read? Why can't we hear the firsthand conversation?
Because the conference revolves around academic papers that haven't been published yet.
But why are academic papers already pre-announced in the sense of academic papers normally take, a handful of years plus. And so it's weird to me that Galileo Project was formed shortly after last UAPTF report, right? Like last year. And all of a sudden we have a handful of papers that are going to be discussed at the Galileo Project conference coming up, a week and a half from now, and now all of a sudden that's pulled back again. So how are these white papers in a sense of technical details, or like why is that the case? Why is it delayed?
No, I mean this is standard operating procedure in academia. Sometimes you'll have conferences that are closed to the public because it's just for professionals, within the field by invitation only, or members of specific college affiliates, or some type of colloquium. There's a whole host of reasons as to why things can be open or closed to the public. And then the other aspect is, I mean, you asked a question about Galileo Project, and again, correct me if I'm wrong. You know,
So how
I'm
are they
trying.
producing papers after only 1 year of formation? I guess is where I'm getting at.
Sure. The short answer to that is we're creating papers, and they're not very long, but they're white papers establishing effectively the foundation of the Galileo Project and why they think the work that they're doing merits investigation. So, for example, if you go to the Galileo Project's website, they have two objectives, right? Both of which are founded
Yeah, it's in,
upon.
it's in,
Found,
it's in.
there's
Yeah.
some people that may not know, which is why I just want to quickly
Okay, I got you.
yeah. There are two objectives with the Galileo Project, you know, and they're both operate on the foundation of two events. The first event being the discovery of a ISO interstellar object, Oumuamua. The second one is on the heels of the UAP task force release. And given those two things, Avi Loeb and some colleagues